Mörkråkerdans fra det bjergen hav, om vindbleis grønnhårete. Skyer da klar skal solen blive grå, om du vet du nærmer
gentlemen, welcome one and all to the Fractal Gaming Tournament. Day one, I'm Dia, joined by Tenrek on one of the sides of me. Tenrek, I'm not sure where you are, but what I can say is that we are all both in for a good time, and I'm excited to see our very first matchup of the weekend. Team Tri going up against Team Penta.
Yeah, no matter where you are, no matter where we are, we're ready for a good time. These 3 days are going to be jam-packed with some League of Legends action filled by the community from Fractal. Really exciting. We're going to start with this best of three between Tri and Penta. It's funny, when you walk into a cast like this, it's always a little difficult, but also that much more exciting when you get to talk about players and potentially comps that you would never talk about anywhere else.
It's true because at this point, these teams have had very little time to practice together, and I can't emphasize that enough. These guys are just getting into the nitty gritty of actually performing as a group of five, and it means that really the niche picks are going to be the things we focus on. These OP.GGs, this tracking, these stats have just been given over to the opposition hours ago. They've had very little time to prep against their specific opponents, and so a lot of this is going to come down to little pocket picks that nobody would expect otherwise.
Be those little moments of chemistry, and they're going to be especially admirable when you just put it all into perspective. Like most of these teams, they've had little to no time or practice together. In fact, the couple hours that we've had before, between all the teams getting finalized and this this entire tournament actually starting, the teams have still been in Discord calls, working ARAMs, working scrims. They've been practicing in what little time they've had. They're clearly so dedicated, and for good reason. I mean, there's a solid prize at stake.
There really is. As draft begins above us, we're going to get the chance to break all of that down, but we're going to start with the mid lane picks right now. Twisted Fate and LeBlanc going to be removed from the pool, two very mobile and importantly roam-centric mid laners that I'm expecting to impact Team Penta a lot because we know that their mid laner, Duradin, really does like to roam.
Makes sense to get rid of, especially the TF. It's a great pick for teams that don't have that much time together. It's a great solo pick character, just able to get in, get out ASAP with just about anybody on your tail. I understand the Vex and Sona picks almost directly as well. Vex just such a great damage dealer late game and a potential carry. Meanwhile, Sona such a great and easy support to hook onto. So I understand why Tri would want to get rid of that immediately as well.
You know, it's funny that we talk about the Vex because speaking of Team Tryon, their own mid laner, Momo, expressed a specific interest in Vex, and since she has come out, has been playing her nonstop, extraordinarily powerful champion, and at this point, removing that sort of flexibility is really good, but let's keep in mind, Zeri hasn't been banned yet, and as one of the most recent additions to League, she's pretty darn strong.
True. Yeah, it's interesting not seeing the Zeri, and yeah, these first three picks or bans from each side. Yeah, Zeri hasn't been banned at all. We haven't also we also haven't seen the Corki ban either, which has been a mainstay in either the picks or bans in the early scene, or the Jinx ban actually, which has been popping up a lot more recently as the meta's reformed thanks to the recent patch notes, especially the Chemtech getting disabled. Xerath is going to be the first pick from Tri though.
Okay, an interesting pivot here, giving us a long range mage instantly. Now, blind pick Xerath, not something that we see too often because theoretically it is punishable. You can draft to get on top of this guy and to neutralize his laning phase pretty darn well, but Penta may have different options up their sleeve. We'll notice that things like the Xin Zhao, the Jinx that you mentioned earlier, not yet taken away, but it really does depend on which direction they want to go in. And for right now, it seems like they want to throw a little bit of wrench into the mix themselves. Tom Kench, the can go either top or support, picked up this early in.
Already tell that one of the biggest things that I'm going to want to pay attention to for both of these games is how many champions are going to be really reliant on the ramp throughout the laning phase. How much of that balance are you going to want to have in a team? How much confidence do you have that some of your members, however many you pick with these heroes that don't necessarily align too much with the early game and can get picked off alone, but manage so well in the team fight? How reliable will you be on those players and those champions as the game carries on? I think Tom Kench and Xerath could be great examples of that. Viego and Xin Zhao are practically polar opposites, though. They'll be roaming, they'll be initiating a lot of small picks in that laning phase and then carrying through with some early damage in the team fights.
I think importantly, both Viego and Xin Zhao, the Xin Zhao that's being considered, are reliable in different points in the game as well. Viego brings so much power into the late game, whereas Xin Zhao is this, I want to say, really constant force throughout the late game, but has so much more of an emphasis in that early game dominance on being able to take these flexible paths and impact lanes really quickly. Given that we've got a Xerath pick early, I can only imagine that it's Dark Leisure's plan to try and impact the side lanes more so than anything, because Xerath in the mid lane should be one that you leave alone. It's going to be totally fine. Wave clear and just keep pressure on Team Penta.
Gonna be a lot of fear early in this game. I don't think a lot of people are gonna really want to hit each other from what we've seen so far, and I think that carries true with Jin. That guy just never wants to be hit at all, practically ever, including in team fights. That's gonna be a lot of safety, and I find it particularly interesting that Try is blind picking that again as well.
It's so weird that we haven't seen the Zeri or the Jinx picked up. And I mean, as I say that,
There it
Team Penta
is.
are considering the Jinx. There we go. Locked in. This is an extraordinarily powerful pick on this patch as well. And you can tell Penta's been doing their homework when it comes to at least the stock standard composition that they want to run. But as you and I discussed before, there's the possibility that comfortability reigns over the meta right now. And that's, I think, what Team Tri is going for. They're saying these things may not be the most meta right now, but we're going to run the Rift with them. And I can't wait to see how that works out. Speaking of meta, though, it only makes sense that the Ahri is taken away. You don't want to give that powerful of a pick over, especially when she blends Control Mage and Assassin so well.
I think that Penta's particularly trying to pay attention to what weaknesses they could find from a draft like this. And that's why I think the Jinx is a great pick beyond that, because you could tell they have a little bit of fear with the bot, with the support ban onto Sona, but they've blind picked the Jin, and Jinx's Super Mega Death Rocket compared to the Curtain Call is just such a more involving ultimate in team fights. In Penta, you can tell, especially with the Viego, they definitely want to get this Jinx involved. Silas and Gwen, additional bans from either side.
Okay, interesting to see the Silas as well. Definitely, I mean, an ultimate denial there. As when you pick Silas, you are really thinking about taking away these high utility ults. And so I'm assuming that Team Penta want to go for one of those high impact ultimates themselves, see what that can get them. There is the chance that they don't go for it and instead are thinking of picking a mid laner that would otherwise be countered by the Silas, but it does feel a little bit weird into the Xerath. We'll see how it shakes out for them. However, with the Graves pickup and Viego already locked in, I think we've got to assume that Graves is going top lane here.
Yeah, Penta needs to lock in their top phase ASAP because Gwen and Malphite just got banned. They need to find something quick before Try does, and they're going to settle on the Gnar. I like Try forcing this blind out of Penta here, but even so, I think Graves is a really solid pick regardless.
He really is. And I think that the really nice thing about Graves is that you can leave him alone. We talked to Team Penta a little bit before we got in today, and for for the representatives of Team Penta, the game plan seems to be leave their top laner alone, let him vibe, let him push in the side lane, let him scale up to infinity, and the other four of us are going to operate as this core that push and pull Team Try around the map. If this Graves can get going, if he can get a little bit of a lead early, that game plan is going to be unstoppable.
Now that Karma has been picked for the support, we only have one member left for Penta. The meta is trying to set itself up, but it's clear these teams, they're both going to want their space. But the question has to be, at what times will either team violate each other's space? It's
Hmm.
going to be a huge back and forth and waiting game on either end. But I, I genuinely have no idea which team could potentially snowball more. Penta's going to pick the Orianna,
Mm.
so I'm leaning a little towards Penta with the ramp, because I mean we have a lot of heroes on that team that can just do crazy damage as we hit the latter end of the game.
Exactly. I think that's the investment, right? Team Penta are saying you're not going to get ahead of enough of us in that pre 25-minute mark that you're going to be able to enter the game, and we're just going to scale to a point where it really doesn't matter what you do. It is an investment in that late game, though, and more so an investment in the fact that Try may not be prepared to take on this squad, may not have the game plan to close out the teams. But as you and I know, if any team has what it takes to close out a game early, it's got to be Try because they have been putting in so much practice. I think that they are one of our most practiced squads so far. And in a tournament with only 4 different teams, it means a lot.
Absolutely no. I think we can safely say out of the four teams, Try is probably the most practiced.
Hmm.
We talk so much about how all the other teams have like just met, had maybe like 8 or 9 script. Like Try, they've been working together for days, if not weeks beforehand. They have been ripped. They've been ready to go for so long. I can absolutely understand um that they're confident in setting up this early game and hoping that it carries them through. Penta, I'm not sure how much Penta knows about Try's sort of regiment that they've had set up, but it might just be not enough if Try can get things going early on.
Yeah, it's a difficult call to make as to how this game will shake out. I think that one of the important things that we can do right now, though, is establish how these team compositions are meant to break down, what their win conditions are. And I'm going to start this by going and taking a look at Team Try because we talk about early game for them as being so important because they have the scaling disadvantage. We've got to pay respect to the Xin Zhao. We called it out on the second pick, saying this is the early game powerhouse that they have, and Xin Zhao is largely going to be their game plan. Karma looks good for the laning phase, but it really is about how well not Karma pairs with Jhin in the bot lane, but how she pairs with Xin Zhao later on. The Gnar up top side should be a solid split push win condition for them later on. Xerath should be able to hold things down, but Team Try need to enable their jungler above all else. How about Team Penta?
Yeah, no, well, I have to agree. I don't think Try's going to stay put anywhere for long. I think we're going to see a lot of roaming from, especially the Karma, the Xin Zhao, and the Gnar for sure. Gnar will have no trouble, popping down into mid. Xin Zhao is going to go from lane to lane, and Karma can definitely let Jin take care of that bot lane on himself. But I mean, I can't shy away from the Jinx for Team Penta. It's such a consistent win condition, so much raw damage pumped out at any point in the game. Really, she is always a looming threat. And I understand that Try's going to know that, but I don't know if they'll be able to keep up with it.
Exactly. It's one of those things that if you're trying to keep up with Jinx, you've got to pick Aphelios on the other side of the matchup, and we already know that Tri has opted out of that. I don't think they're trying to keep pace right now because it feels like an impossible task, as you've already identified. Jinx's ability to get excited in the late game as well, just off of a single sort of fight, really does change things. And as I take a look at the in-game draft, we've got the opportunity to see who on what teams is locking in these champions. We've got a surprising pivot because it looks like Momo, the mid laner for Team Try, has actually taken the Karma, leaving a Xerath support in bot lane.
It's interesting. I'm wondering if they're hoping that provides Karma more ability to go back and forth between other lanes and just let Durandin on the Ori do her thing. Um, but other than that, I mean, I guess it's so Jin can ramp easier and Xerath can play keep away with the Tom Kench. I'm not entirely sure the intention.
I think that looking at this, my idea would be the 2v2. We talked about enabling Dark Leisure and how Karma needs to be pairing with him. From the support position, that's good and it's something you can work towards, but from mid lane, it's basically already done. Xin Zhao can constantly show up mid lane, can make Oriana's life very difficult, and Karma will have really easy access to roams alongside Dark Leisure. You've got to imagine that that's at least the idea for Try, and for a squad that is very well practiced, we'll see exactly how it works out. I'm really hyped to get an idea of what goes down the rift. However, as we do hit the spectator delay for this game, we're just gonna take a few minutes of a break. And as we do, it is my time to remind you that Beyond Ranked is a platform where you can book commentators for anything, whether it's a tournament, a league, or even a show match between friends. You can find someone like us, perhaps, to amp up your gameplay. If you're a tournament or a league organizer, you can use Beyond Ranked to manage your entire broadcast by finding new talent, adding them to your team, and assigning them to specific broadcasts. No longer gone are the days, Tenrek, of using spreadsheets and doodle polls. You can just use Beyond Ranked. Check out beyondranked.com or hop in their Discord today. And with that, we'll be right back. Welcome to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a long time, but myself, Dia, as well as Tenrek, are here to guide you through the action, and with a level 1 invade, no less, Tenrek.
Level 1 invade from both ends, I believe. Yes, Try is going to head down river right side, and Penta going to go down the right end. Or left end, rather.
It's all relative, isn't it? Their right, our left.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. Well,
It's all relative. I'm always right.
Do you think that they'll do you think they'll figure out that nobody's actually on this side of the jungle right now? Oh, maybe we'll get an idea right now. Everybody walking in for the moment. I want to take a moment as well, as we have spawned into the game, and you can see all the summoner names, to recognize there are 2 people we'll be calling by different names today. And interestingly enough, they're both the supports. On Team Try, on the left end of your screens, their support, KRI Carry Lane, will be calling PJ, and for Penta, their support, Ballmate, we will be calling Huck. For obvious reasons, I think.
I prefer Ballmate.
Yeah. That's not something you know what? I just saw it and I was like, you know what? I know his name's Huck. We're just gonna go with that.
You know what? We'll acknowledge the existence of Ballmate, but we will proceed to call them Huck.
Exactly. It's all about respecting their decisions, giving them the opportunity, and then, you know, doing their own things. Specifically in the mid lane, I want to note that wards were laid down by not both, but only one of the teams. Team Try does get advanced vision on the side of Team Penta. They can spot out their blue buff right now. And that means that Dark Leisure, the guy responsible for our early game, has a lot of free information on where J51 is.
I don't know if that's going to carry too hard into this first part of the game, but it's a good consolation in case something does engage. Jay he can really toss out a path at any point in time. That's the beauty of the Viego. Initiate that early damage and find the advantage afterwards. But Jay, he's going to focus on that Roman just as he should, because Dark Leisure is going to be doing the exact same thing, but with a little more presence in mid.
Yeah, full clears for both of our junglers right now. Does speak to Zinzao at least wanting to get an item or so before he goes aggressive, and it's nice because it's held up by his lanes, right? You talked about the mid lane already, where Hello Momo is continuing to push, but Nova Crone and Huck are taking a lot of poke down in bot lane, and it's for good reason. You draft that Jhin Xerath, you want this early action, but do you want J51 showing up in your lane? Because it just might happen.
Oh, the dive from Huck. They're going to try and get something going. Tongue is out. It misses. Jay jumps in from the path, but there's enough health to back it up until
Dark Leisure's here.
in. And, oh, man. Penta might not be able to back up.
This is big. Oh, my lord. The slow lands as well. Flash from Dark Leisure. Oh, my. Huck is almost dead, but Dark Leisure steps into the turret. He takes 2 turret shots, and Nova Crone gets excited. Now J51 flashing forward. AC's going to get knocked up here. The third auto lands. Nova Crone is going to be able to pick up a second assist, get excited again, but most importantly, the double kill going to J51.
That was as scrappy as the low-level fight should be, and Jay was at the center of all of it. Well, not just at the center, he was at the beginning, he was at the middle, and he was at the end. Initiated just like he should, got the early damage on, penetrated what attack was coming back on from the extra approach when AC and PJ had that extra health over Novachrome and Huck. And by the time that Leisure came along, Jay was ready once again to toss in even more. But now Jay and Huck, they're looking to find Leisure again. They know that he's on the retreat to some extent, and they were looking to take advantage of it. Not going to work out. They will run back to where they need to be, because Huck is still level 2.
And this is a rough start, though. Keep in mind, 4-team try, a squad that we said did want to get ahead in the early game. I think they were looking in the right place, but extended ever so slightly too far down in bot lane. The redemption has to come through the win condition that we set up much earlier on through the mid lane. We need Duradin to be pressured by Dark Leisure. This immobile mage can really suffer at the hands of the duo of Karma and Xin Zhao, but outside of that, the scaling really will take off for Team Penta.
First strike is up, and Novachrome and Huck are going to immediately go for it with the help of Jay. No chance to really contest it at this point. Dark Leisure is still playing catch-up, as are our two fun bot laners that are down 1 life now. Gonna set up a ward to try and get some intel and actually go for the steal, but Jay does get the final blow with the smite.
Sort of passive that they ended up going for that. You may as well throw a few skill shots in. Crucially, however, Wave was frozen next to AC and PJ's turret in this bot side. So Team Try continuing to stay safe, at least for now, and it's really adding up in the gold. You take your eyes towards the top of your screen, and you'll notice that even though 2 kills have gone the way of Team Penta, even though they've got that first dragon, they're actually technically a little bit behind in gold, and it's a lot more than you would think, given the state of the game, but it has so much to do with the 35 CS that AC has in this bot lane, where Novachrome is sitting at just 16.
Yeah, it hopefully means that PJ and AC have kind of learned their lesson here, not to approach too far just yet. Let time heal all wounds and get all the levels back that they need to get back out of this early game deficit that they found themselves in.
Bot lane dives.
They will find absolutely no deficits now. Solid wave going up towards the T, and there's 2 coming up through the top of bot. It's going to find Novachrome.
No, he just doesn't get to play the game. And, well, we're going to get a support death as well. Might just be another one falling. Dark Leisure going to go down. Are we committing to this? 4th shot for AC does finish off the 2nd kill underneath the tower. But you lose 2 of your own, and it's not the perfect place. Not what try we're looking for, but I am loving that they're going for it.
Hey, at least they got something out of it, and they're going to get a little more. 1 plate from AC as 2 remaining members of Penta now make their way back, scurrying on down to T1 for a still gigantic wave. They've made up for a lot of ground here with the amount of time that AC's now wasted, and the damage that they've done. That's 2 plates off of T1.
Absolutely crazy that they ended up getting away with that. And again, I have to say the intention absolutely perfect, right? We talked about grouping up Momo and Dark Leisure. It's what they do. They make the bot lane suffer for it, and they extend the lead that their Jhin has. But it does come at the cost of letting Duradin farm up a little bit more in this mid lane. And as somebody very proficient on control mages that has been playing League of Legends for a long time, I don't want to see this guy get too far ahead, because Duradin will end your game.
I kind of like this sort of targeting for the others outside of Duradin, though. You'll notice Jay, Novachrome, and Huck are the ones that don't have those TPs back. And so, I mean, if PJ and AC keep aggressing this bot lane, whether they have Dark Leisure's help or not, then they'll be able to get more plates on this turret a lot more consistently and a lot more quickly than on those other lanes. If Duradin gets taken down by Momo, sure, fine, you can clear an extra wave, but Jay could be there like that, and Leisure can't hold up that fight for long.
Not at all. I mean, already Jay is terrifying. We got to see just up in this top side a very small skirmish that tells you a lot about the state of the game. Dark Leisure forced to flash away from Thick Waifu and J51, and it's for good reason. He's sitting at level 5, where J51 is level 6 right now, and the access to that ultimate for Xin Zhao is crucial in allowing him to actually tank up these small skirmishes, these small engagements. Not having that just yet, he's forced to continue farming, give up another objective, and in the bot lane, Novachrome and Huck are forced to do exactly the same thing just to make sure this Rift Herald goes over.
Yeah, they dipped a lot into that Herald, and it's because of everything that was set up by Try early on. It's going exactly according to plan for arguably both sides, but ultimately, will it pay off in dividends for one end? This Rift Herald is going to be the first signal of what the answer to that question may be.
AC's going aggressive once more. J51 is here, however, and this 3v3 does not look good for Team Tri. Dark Leisure, forced already to invest the ultimate, has the blast cone over the wall, and the disengage is there, but it's not what Tri came for. They wanted these kills, and Penta were able to fully defend.
And you could tell Huck was ready to cut that entire defense in half, and that blast cone wasn't there. We could see an easy 2K coming out of the momentum from that. Dive came in and just immediately cleared that board up. That's how easy it is to find a jungler wantonly walking, waiting for that potential lurk into a kill. You can take advantage of that so quickly, and Huck recognized that, found a way in, and forced a tight retreat. But not too much damage done. Waiting for that Ocean Dragon to come on back. 40 seconds remaining. It's imperative that Penta keeps control of River here, because that's about all they have going for them right now. A gigantic loss in gold right now, and the KDAs are looking pretty tight still.
And neither top laner going to be able to join up for this. Oh my god, next Dragon. Wait a minute, that's a root. That's an ultimate. Novacrone may go down. Right at the Arcane, just barely not connecting on those last two shots, but Novacrone is living life on the edge right now, and I did not expect to see that. However, with Drake coming up very soon, you'd expect to try to turn this into the objective, but Dark Leisure's not quite in position yet. There are a few more pieces that need to be laid down.
No chance to toss out the first Herald yet. But again, that's just because Penta, they want to set up this River immediately, but it might be a little late to the party. Jay has to do a quick retreat out before Durden comes in, but again, it's a staggered entry. And Dark Leisure, along with Momo and AC, are going to take advantage of that.
That was a really excellent shockwave from Duradin catching out two members, but I think one of the problems that you're facing up to right now is that as Team Penta, you're invested in scaling up. It's not happened yet. By 10 minutes, you've got the Infernal Dragon. You've been playing the game really well, but Orianna hasn't even got her first mythic item yet, and at this point, multi-man shockwaves just really aren't it at the moment. You need a lot more power, and by trying to fight a dragon, Penta end up giving up more than the actual objective in the form of those kills as well. Up in the top lane, Ronnie, however, underneath the tower, might be okay. Nice flash away from Jay. This guy on Gnar has been really styling and putting up with a lot of pressure from Thick waifus.
Yeah, it's been continuous engagement, but Thick has never really found something out of it. Jay, though, forcing that flash out along with the TP back will make sure that the Herald will finally find its purpose and take some plates off a T1 top. That's Penta finding a little extra ground on the other side. We're starting to see a gigantic shift. It's turning less into a diagonal game and more into a bit more of a horizontal one.
And remember, Ronnie's had the opportunity back right now, so Thick waifus, he's going to go down. One more auto will do it.
Ooh.
Slow lands, and Ronnie cleans up in the top side. Let's think about the way that that play ended up going as well, because let us not forget that started with a Rift Herald. Started with the Rift Herald that is meant to get you ahead in gold, and at the end of that play, you end up losing a player, as well as still ultimately being down in the gold. Novacrone and Huck, though, going to try and correct that. Doesn't look like it's going to work out.
You gotta be ready, simple as that. And this time, Penta, they are ready for the engagement over in River. Leisure already has to retreat, has already used the flash, but Jay is close behind, speeding up through the mist, still jumping in. Novacrone and Durden behind. There's one, Xin Zhao gone. AC, along with PJ, have control of lane, and that's gonna cause the curtain call to come out. We'll find Novacrone on the way. Durden on a sliver of health will get the shield available. Make sure that Momo can fall as well. Still on a sliver, and PJ falls next. Jay is on such a tear. Current damage, don't care. AC just survives, though.
Oh my god, he gets out.
This is an emotional roller coaster. My god.
450 gold go to AC there, and it's a big shutdown. But the biggest thing on the Rift right now is absolutely J51. 5-1 at the end of that play, but make no mistake, this Viego is coming for you, and AC is not going to catch lucky breaks like that again.
Kraken Slayer up now for Jay as well. He's going to be so dangerous. If you thought he was causing some trouble now, just wait a couple more minutes until these team fights really start going on more and more in the River. Every fight's kind of just going to find its way back in, though. PJ and as well as AC are still... They still feel just the tiniest bit behind, but they're kind of comfortable with that, regardless. Nice route there onto Huck. They're gonna stay incremental with it.
Just a lot of CC in this bot lane. There's a lot that Try can do to make your life difficult, but for every step that they take to try and harass down Penta, it feels like Penta are just behind them with this team fight wombo combo that they've been able to put together really early on into the game. It's something that, again, we didn't have any right to expect until significantly later, but Penta have found themselves situations where Try are slightly overextended, I think more frequently than anyone were expecting, and it's making Try's game plan look a lot less effective when compared to how Penta are playing against it. If they can continue to find these team fight plays, Try's going to have only a more and more difficult time as Novacrone continues to in the bot side, and nicely done from Huck, definitely exemplifying why the Tahm Kench was picked.
Yeah, Penta's tempo has just been a little better right now. They know when to back out and they know when to jump in. They've been a lot more seamless with their engages and disengages, and they've just recognized so openly about when a space is available and when you need to go. Try, AC trying to shoot from behind, finding some damage as PJ plays the meat shield, but Durden is back online defending it, but there's too much damage coming out. 4 members holding up on that T1. They are committed to finding this turret, hoping that Ronnie can continue defending up in top, and they're going to find some picks along with it. A curtain call may just find Huck here as the shield but want to jump in and pressure until the final curtain call shot finds its way in. But in the meantime, a Rift Herald is now gunning for the turret in mid, and that will be taken down, meaning Ronnie now has to abandon their post yet again in top.
One of our first really big trades as well, because we get a play made in bot side, and it isn't the response from Penta in bot lane. It isn't them all piling in and out team fighting. Now it's them injecting gold into J51 and Thick Waifus. And for a team whose win condition earlier on was stated as, we want to let our top laner kind of do whatever he wants as we run around, getting a lot of gold into your top side is going to be really good, because this Graves will take off against the Gnar. It's already been putting a lot of pressure down, while Ronnie has been doing extraordinarily well. Thick Waifu's J51 can run away with this game just by using side lane pressure to their advantage.
It's funny, the scariest thing you can say about a team that says, oh, we just want to let whatever our top laner does, is that means you need to have a team to back it up so the top laner can continue doing whatever he does, and that can't happen this time.
AC's gone just like that. You can't really team fight anymore. As Team Penta, J51 thinking about looking for the support right here. Stun actually going to go wide for PJ. That means he's dead. Heartbreaker comes down. J51 picks up another kill very cleanly.
Penta, they just have control of this river. They have the whole match, save for the Ocean Dragon that got taken moments ago. Not worth attempting a steal. Not worth attempting a contest post. Dragon, Penta's going to take the earth.
We get to the 16-minute mark, and we are basically even in gold. Even, I'll say, Penta a little bit ahead right now. And for a squad, again, that wants to scale up to the late game, this is the ideal position for them. The one thing that they need right now, more than anything, is that Penta need to inject gold into Novacrone, because they are a late game scaling squad no matter what. But Novacrone needs more kill participation, or it needs more farm, because this Jinx is a big part of that late game, and right now she is not online. Duradin has opted for the Crown of the Shattered Queen, sort of holding back on the consistent damage in favor of safety from burst, and that means that outside of J51, you really don't have that much DPS to work with as we scale later, and you're gonna need it.
It's a really weird sort of limbo that you're in. Oh, Thick Waifu's already getting contested. Leisure can just top in. Now that the top lane is being super openly contested, but Jay is back on as well through the river here, and Leisure can take down Waifus.
One more shot.
In as well. Oh, man. They're really optimizing their position about now. They're making sure that Novacrone, along with the rest of Penta, they can't find the ramp to fully complete and end ASAP here. As we're approaching the 20-minute mark, Novacrone still level 10 here. Only around 100 creeps, and I mean, the team fighting has been a bit underwhelming. Novacrone getting engaged again, and what can Huck do?
Dude, it's so scary. It's the second time we've seen him gill force forward and fourth shot Novacrone. The guy is a monster on this Jhin, and I'm starting to see why this pick was so heavily prioritized for Try. It may not be the meta answer, but Team Try, we're always going to rely on more comfort than meta, and it's really working right now, specifically in the AD carry role. AC is killing it.
I think we're about to hit that team fight phase. Penta's going to get desperate soon. They need to find some gold, and they're going to try and do it with some extra pickoffs. They may try and lurk in some areas, but with the way that Try has started to resurface and merge themselves up in these lanes more and more often, backing as a unit and then reapproaching as one as well, then Penta is going to either have to spread out and try and take as many objectives as possible in this mid game, or they're just going to have to outperform in the team fights.
And it's a really difficult decision for them, which I think, because J51, their jungler, is going to be calling for these team fights. You know you're strong, you know you're ready, and whether the rest of the team feels confident in following that up is the really big question, because Penta haven't had nearly as much time to gel as I'm sure they would have liked to put together these game plans, but when you trust your teammates, it really can turn into teamfight wins. It's a very difficult thing to do right now, especially with Novachrome being behind, but if they can find picks, Penta's way into, I would say, dominance of this game would be through accelerating Jinx in the team fights. Outside of it, Try still do have about 5 to 10 minutes where their composition is, I'd say, comfortably online. They can end the game at any time.
Absolutely. They really could make a solid push here and find their way to a T2 or even a T3 at one point. They haven't exactly found a target yet. Rather, they're just staying put as a unit and setting up shop in the river that they have had trouble controlling up top a little bit more. Jay's looking to engage with it, though, and like you said, trust could be the biggest error with this jungler, because while Jay has such a great engagement tool in Viego also becomes so vulnerable when you don't have the team behind you. Once you've initiated, you dash in, you get rooted once, and you could just get absolutely melted. Huck gonna jump in and try and clear this board once more, and will succeed initially onto Leisure, but Ronnie is looking to engage and find a trade out. Not successful just yet.
Oh my lord.
PJ's still late as well. Huck can jump in yet again with another dive and go unpunished for it.
Oh.
Ronnie's going big mode though, and now has Jay picking up here, but the waifus can drop right in and deal massive amounts of damage to everybody else in that river. Just like that, Penta's got the river, Penta's got the Baron.
But what a shockwave from Duradin as well to really bring that team fight together. But it was always one that Penta was going to win from the very start, from the very initiation. They knew that Momo couldn't join the fight, that Momo didn't have teleport. They bring thick waifus up. They take that Baron fight. They get the Baron, and now Penta, the late game scaling team, have hit a lot of their item spikes, and they're in the driver's seat at 21 minutes into this game.
They're ready to take this match by storm, and they have a lot of tools to do it and a lot of tools to plunder. They gotta work fast, but they can be efficient with what they've got. Now trying to run through mid lane at first. Disperse as the next dragon spawns. They're gonna easily take this. Try has no intention to contest. Again, maybe try and steal, but even then, that could be massively dangerous if somebody steps out of line, and that's kind of been Try's MO, unfortunately, so far. Penta's just been so good at forcing disposition.
It is really crazy to see the evolution of Penta as well, because keep in mind that earlier they were a team that had to play very responsively to a composition that was spiking in the early game. Team Try had everything in the first few minutes. They had advanced vision. They had the ability to jump in and counter plays. They had the ability to make plays in the mid and top lane, and they were constantly trying to pull the trigger on these things, but Penta managed to weather a lot of that early game storm, and now we're in the position where, honestly, it's Team Try's, I would say, more difficult position to take the game away from them. With a Moonstone Renewer, a Chemtech Putrefier in this mid lane, Momo is simply meant to prop the rest of the team up, and so much of this is going to come down to AC and going to come down to Leisure, because Ronnie can't side lane anymore, and things are just getting harder and harder.
And with that lack of, with that engagement and that capability now to really attack, it's a great idea for Penta to try and force Try to play reactively. If Try can't initiate a fight, then they are left with so much weakness. So many of their ultimates rely on the rest of the team being ready for a fight. And if all of Try isn't ready for a fight, then all of Try is going to lose that fight. Super Mega Death Rocket is such a good tool to start things off for that, though. And Curtain Call can't keep up reactively. You have to set up your ground. And if the ground is just about anywhere under the sun, which is looking at be where Penta is trying to set up shop, then they are so out of the water.
It's absolutely true. We saw it just there in the mid lane. Even a attempted catch, even a stun, a snare landing isn't enough, because if your team Try, To engage means to walk face first into Duradin. This Orianna, terrifying as well, is doing so much to keep Team Penta safe that Try having a very difficult time moving around the map. I do like the pivot of running to the side lane, cleaning up a little bit of farm, allowing the team to stabilize in the mid lane. And it means that this Baron isn't getting nearly as much value as I think Penta would have liked, but it still does leave them largely in the driver's seat of, at the very least, game one. Because it's important to mention, Tenrek, this isn't a best of one.
Oh, certainly no. We are not even close to seeing the conclusion of this first match tonight. There's still a lot of game to play regardless of how quickly one team decides to end it all, and it really does rely a lot on decision. Waifu is going to make the decision to finally pull the trigger on the T2 in top, which means Ronnie may finally be well met enough to try team fighting more consistently, as, I mean, we've already seen Ronnie trying to jump in a little more often and get punished for it very frequently. Waifu's not going to back up enough to back up, so Ronnie is able to peter that out, but the real team fight's taking place over in mid yet again from the river. Trying to take control of this part of the jungle, and they will succeed. Penta's playing really respectful, and honestly, I think they need to stop that.
They are. I was surprised to see the way that they were doing this, saving the Heartbreaker, because it means now Novacrone left completely exposed, no Devour available, and now you've got Thick Waifus getting run down on the top side. Ronnie's in charge of that on this Gnar, and does end up getting a pick, repelling the top laner, keeping Try in charge for the moment. Look around the map, and they're not getting a whole lot for it. It's got to be a turret or nothing, because there's no dragon, no Baron, nothing for them to do.
Yeah, Penta needs to stop letting Try have the spotlight, or else all of these abilities are going to get way too much connection, and they're just going to rawly overpower the defense. That's going to take place on the mid T2. And, I mean, again, Penta, they're just too late. They're ready to play, but they came in at the wrong place at the wrong time, and they can't properly punish for what otherwise would be a pretty over-eager anticipation of taking another turret and trying to equalize yet again. Because you got to remember, Penta, they still got more gold, they still got more dragons on the verge of a soul, still a lot of control over most of this territory, and yet they are not completing.
Now, we did get the chance, like we mentioned earlier, to talk to these teams earlier, and one of the things that Team Penta can look to now is that Thick Waifu's up in this top side. The Graves scaling pretty monstrously, does get caught out. Let's see if he can end up escaping from this AC. Still looking for that fourth shot, not going to find it, but Thick Waifu's, as we know, is a real fan of the LCK, the championship over in Korea of League of Legends. And if he's an avid watcher, I'd say that he's seen quite a bit of Graves recently. He knows how strong this can become in the side lane. You leave a Graves alone, and he can quite literally end the game. We saw Khan do it in the series against KT, and at this point, I'd like to see Thick Waifus try and replicate that sort of success, autoing down the structures, everything, until there's nothing left for Try to hold on to. However, as Try trying to test the dragon, there's something they can find here if they can out-team fight Penta.
Here's the engagement, early shield to get things started. Leisure's
Leisure
going
on
to
the front line.
soon. Huck tries to dive in, has to retreat early, and Leisure still not dead yet. Waifus wastes a lot of health on that, and because of that, they've had to push in single file line, and the rest of Try is going to take advantage of that. Curtain Call comes out late, doesn't have to find any shots. Waifu's still the only one remaining, but that means there's nobody on the turnaround to be able to take care of whatever damage is left. Waifu stunned, rooted, taken care of. Try seals the deal, prevents the skull from taking shape just yet.
How did they do it? How did Try manage to win the fight? We watched it happen. And as Dark Leisure was getting whittled through, everybody went, surely now. Surely this is where Penta takes off. But they could never get Novacrone involved in this fight. This Jinx, the win condition of the composition, never really got going. J51 was isolated, and now it is costing them an inhibitor. With the respawn timers that they are, Penta are going to get another chance. But it could be their last one if they're not careful about how they approach the next team fights, because now the base is fully exposed. There are very few towers in between Try and the end of a game. And let's not forget, Dragon's still up.
Oh yeah, they still haven't finished this off. Penta's got to master this positioning after this Drake gets taken down if they want to have any shot at really succeeding. Every single team fight we've seen, somebody step out of line, somebody advance a little too far, and somebody just not be entirely with the program, and the entirety of the team has paid for it dearly. That's the trouble with this kind of ramp. Waifus can get all the damage they want. They have the Immortal Shield Bow. They have that ability to wait until everybody is on the retreat, and then Durden can come up, say, hi, how are ya, and then sandwich the defense. But that's a lot of setup, and Penta just haven't reached that point yet.
As we're setting up for what I can only assume to be a Baron fight, we got to take stock of where our AD carries are as well. We talked about Novacrone, currently no flash. Heal's just coming off cooldown, doesn't have access to the third item, and it looks like it's a GA next. So Jinx still very much waiting on the power spike. Again, Duradin, not a consistent enough source of damage with Crown of the Shattered Queen. So much of this fight comes down to J51 and Thick Waifus up in the top side of the map. If this Viego Graves combo is on, Penta can win. But if not, Tri could just find themselves another team fight win and maybe the end of the game. You watch these two.
Tri is all too ready to get this fight going, but Penta wants to wait a moment. They want to spread this out a little more, as Waifus is all the way down in bot, and that means they just have to stall a little more outside of Baron. They're actually going to reconvene over towards mid, and that's going to give Tri the floor. But what can they do with it? As it's just Huck playing monitor, and he might have already been seen, quite honestly.
Take a look at the setup. We do have Ronnie split pushing in the bot side, and lots of damage comes down onto PJ though, and Thick Waifus does take a lot as well. J51 flashing, this is big! A shutdown comes in onto AC, and now this Viego is enabled. Flash forced out from Hello Momo, but that's not enough to save Dark Leisure, who now needs another blast cone to rescue him. J51 ends up going over the wall with him, and again, massive to see the Viego able to pop off now. He's one of the two, and is one of the two ingredients for success. Going underneath the tower is a big mistake, though. J51 takes a lot of damage. Ultimately, PJ goes down as the push from Ronnie gets repelled in this bot side. It looks like, for the moment, Penta have held on to life.
Satisfied with that sort of fight. Definitely more you could have grabbed out of it, but Jay, you can tell he really gave that his all, and there's the least bit more room to at least bluff that you're going to Baron. Everyone's still alive. Everyone can still pump out massive amounts of damage. You have the Scuttler available, so you could at least tease the idea of you potentially taking the Baron, but that's not what Penta's going to settle on just yet. Their spread is still a little unprepared, and again, they're just a little too behind on the ramp. I mean, the amount of CC that Ronnie could pull on the entirety of this team right now could just slow down the fight enough, not even win it for Tri, but slow it down enough to where it's practically an ineffective effort for Penta. So they're perfectly fine with, again, taking a step back, waiting, reconvening, and trying this again later with even more firepower behind them. And this step-by-step process is what they're hoping can lead them to victory. But Tri, they've gotten tired of it before, and they're going to get tired of it again.
You know, it's interesting to see this actually with the Graves going off in this bot side, and you discussing, Ronnie, a little bit earlier that Hullbreaker's been opted into by the Gnar for this side lane utility, but Thick Waifus hasn't responded in kind, and Hullbreaker's pretty darn good, gotta say. If you're not picking up Hullbreaker, I'd recommend that you start in your games, and I'm recommending the same to Thick Waifus down in this bot lane right now, or rather, as he roams up towards mid. If he's gonna team fight, though, might be the plan. AC, remember, doesn't have a whole lot of mobility, does use that Gale Force, has flash available, Death Rocket connects, but they're still chasing down the AD carry. Dark Leisure tries to split the fight, but Crescent Guard may not be enough, flashes away, but Duradin picks up the kill, and J51 gets the opportunity to reset with this Zin's out, dives out of the tower alongside Huck, and it's going to turn into another kill. Duradin picks up a second, and Thick Waifus picks up another. Ronnie gets that big stall, but like you mentioned, doesn't quite win the fight. But as the explosions start to come in, AC's the one that turns it. Another auto for Duradin, and a triple kill for AC. Trier illegally holding on.
That did not seem possible. I have to be completely honest. It seemed AC took a greedy pot shot and got so punished for it by Jay, but somehow survived that entire ordeal and then was able to get part of that finishing blow to the fight. Ronnie is just so ramped up right now. Waifus was contesting top for so long, but didn't see what was right under his nose. And that's a very big boy that's getting very angry. Oh, look at poor Crone. So unable to deal with this. You're a Jinx, and you can't fight with damage right now. That's gotta be so tragic. The inhib's gonna get destroyed yet again in mid, and Try somehow has found their momentum despite getting so aggressed over and over and over again.
It is really scary, actually, exactly what you just mentioned. We're 33 minutes into the game, and it doesn't feel like Novachrone's able to do any damage, and a massive part of that is the fact that he doesn't have the Infinity Edge, and we've got to give props to Team Try for the way that they've played this game to deny that, because if you're feeling like you've got to build GA as a Jinx, Try have done their job. They've made this threat possible, but now Penta want to try and turn that back around on them. This Baron's at half health, and Try are not in range to steal.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be too bothered if I was Try, but at the same time, Penta, they can work with this a lot, especially if Try's going to try and recontest right here, and Huck is once again going to dive right in. Leisure going to try and take advantage of it, get a couple challenges in, get a lot of damage in to cut things out. Can Try cover for it? With Ronnie's help, they sure can. Jumps in, makes the GA pop for one, but that's the rest of Penta trying to re-engage. They will find Momo to start things out, and that's Jay once again on fire, dashing in over and over again. AC doesn't have anything to back him up this time. Waifu will find the kill, and while PJ is safe, he is alone in that safety. Penta finds some ground, finds their path through with the help of the Baron, and will get at least a little bit of a reward for it.
And this isn't what we've seen earlier, crucially, because Try have been absorbing overextension after overextension from Penta, but this time it is Try that go on the engagement. While Ronnie's Gnar is good, well, everything seems perfect for them. The fact is that Penta love it when you're coming to them because they've got Duradin. They've got this big Orianna Shockwave sitting at 2.5 items at this point. Duradin is online and can start really peeling for all of his team. As long as he's got the proper setup. Right now, seems like it's trying to get given to him again. The engage on a thick Waifus does take him below half health. Things looked sticky for Penta there, but they're going to get out.
No, I mean, and you can see it in that one fight. Orianna is that hot single in your area just waiting to chat with you. She's always there on the back end, waiting for you to turn right, left, behind you, wherever the fight is not, wherever you want to get the hell out of where you are. Orianna's going to be there, and Duradin is not going to waste any time.
Very clearly not. This guy has been popping off in the latter stages, and again, we saw this uncanny instinct for shockwaves really be showcased early on, and while Penta didn't end up winning the skirmishes, it did instill in all of us viewers at home that Duradin can find these really critical plays with the ultimate from Orianna. Again, clearly a very experienced player, has been playing League for so ridiculously long at this point. Now, we're going on another engage, and surprise, surprise, Duradin is right there, but Shockwave is already down, and now the fight becomes about thick waifus, becomes about how much damage the Scribes can put down, with the Crescent Guard going up. Dark Pleasure escapes, but just barely.
I think we're nearing a point where we have to conclude one of these teams has to bust open soon, and Penta's looking to make themselves the main character here, but how are they going to do it? Jay's looking to be the first answer to that, engaging first, forcing Ronnie to bounce back out. It's this slow, coalescing teams going in and out, the flow back and forth, but it will result on some free space. Onto the mid-T3. Inhib is wide open, but not enough damage to back up the team fight just yet. Penta going to back up yet again. Wait for the next move from Try.
Shockwave not quite up yet either, so Duradin, I think, wisely backing out, but this could be an interesting trap. Dark Leisure does sniff it up, but here's the engage coming through from Huck. Shockwave, again, finding just one, but Dark Leisure manages to escape as J51 goes crazy on the backside. He's going to end up stopwatching at almost exactly the same time as PJ, but this time, Thick Waifus is all over it, flashing forward, obliterating the Xerath, and with Ronnie being run down on this Gnar with Hello Momo exposed, things are looking good for Graves, picking up a double kill. It is absolutely the Thick Waifu show. Curtain call opens up, but it shouldn't find a kill.
They were ready for everything that time. Absolutely everything. They were ready for the damage from Leisure. They were ready for the CC from Ronnie. They were ready for the curtain call from AC. They were ready for the massive damage from PJ. And they countered it all. They're still going to counter it. Team Penta is going to take the Nexus and game number 1.
Absolutely insane performance from Penta as well, and a game that looked so ridiculously close. This game could have gone to anyone. The gold told the story. These Barons told the story. But Penta outlasted so much adversity because let's not forget, they were the ones that had an inhibitor down. They were the ones that were at risk of losing the game 25 minutes in.
Penta did exactly what they ended up wanting to do from the very moment they drafted who they drafted. They waited, they waited, they waited for that ramp, and then they got everything they needed to at the bitter end, and it paid off in spades. Penta takes game number 1, but there are 2 more that potentially may be played, Dia.
Exactly. I love that you touch on that. Just the first game of a best of 3. If Team Try want to make it to finals, they've now got to win 2 in a row. But Penta are just that one step away from pushing them forward. And remind me, Tenrek, what do you stand to win if you make it to finals?
Oh, geez. So much at this point. I believe it is a solid, what?
20 soul?
20 soul, 2 pieces of Riot. I don't. Oh God, I don't.
It's okay. It's okay. I got you. I got you. It was more of a
Yeah,
toss than anything.
yeah.
20
There's
soul.
There's
You
so
get
much. That's my
plenty of
excuse. There's so much.
plenty of Riot merch. You get the opportunity to have first access to the very own merch line of Fractal as well. And most importantly, you get that special little mark in our community Discord that you should be joining right now if you haven't already. Fractal, we've got this big, massive gaming community up and running, and we're inviting you guys to join it as created by one of the founding members of Twitch. It is an opportunity that you don't want to miss out on. So go ahead and find out in the chat where you can join up with the Discord, because I'd like to see you guys as part of the community. Now, we've got a break between games 1 and 2. Try and Penta going to go up once again. So I'm going to take a moment, grab some water, decompress, and we'll see you guys again in the pick bam. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fractal Gaming Tournament, Day 1, Team Penta versus Team Tri. If you missed Game 1, I gotta say, you missed a lot, and I recommend that you go back and watch it. But Tenrek, in a few short words, where are we at going into Game 2?
Ooh, that is difficult. But I
Just,
think I think when we're walking into this next game, we're looking for it's funny. It sounds so simple. Composition. It really is what we're looking for. These teams, they found their footing. They found some semblance of chemistry. The question is now, what are they going to do with it? Is Penta going to carry this on and just keep on winning, or is Tri going to do what they intended to do, what they were sought on doing for so much of this first portion of the game? Are they going to complete upon that? Are they going to be able to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, keep up with the damage ramp, and keep up with the fight wins long enough to be able to take that Nexus and bring us to game 3? Or will they falter yet again to Penta's insane damage that we saw on map on a game number 1? However, Penta could go for a completely different strat here.
it's true. They could. I want to see them stick with the same thing, but maybe that's
But
just me. If they want to show some flexibility, it could be really good to get them on a composition that wants to get the ball rolling early. I'm very curious, however, as to how Tri approaches this. They are going to be on red side this time. We have swapped things around, so Team Tri crucially will have counter pick, and the thing that we got to look out for from them is for a team that wanted to play early game and that did play early game very well, but it has now lost one game and are down almost out in a best of 3 series. Is this the time where they say, we're not going to play early game? We're not going to take these sorts of risks and to try and close things out fast. Instead, we're also going to mirror you in the scaling department. Do we see this jinx of Phalios that we've seen so often so that both teams have late game insurance? That's my really, really big question here. Try looked good last game, but they weren't quite good enough to take the game away from Team Penta.
Tri certainly doesn't want to play by the same exact rules this time, as the very first ban from them is going to be Viego. They clearly understand the threat. That was Jay. It's okay, guys. We did too. We understand.
Yeah.
Gonna get that out of the way ASAP. Sonin, Scion, Morgana Vex, and LeBlanc, the same bans as ever for both sides. Penta gonna pick up the Xerath this time.
Okay, so it's sort of a ban as well this time around, which feels really weird. I suspect that this time around, Xerath will be going mid because Duradin, again, has expressed interest in these long range control mages. However, Huck, again, a player since beta, has a lot of depth of champion pool that he could utilize as well. We're seeing something else come back from the bans just last game. Twisted Fate, that was banned first round by Team Tri, now picked up by them as a roaming mid laner, and the Xin Zhao perhaps to double down on another early to mid game composition.
Surprised that Jinx hasn't already been locked down. I know it's early on, but
Mhm.
the ramp has so much potential still. I really want to see it carried out even more from either side, honestly, who is capable of doing this. But I understand the Xin Zhao pick for sure. I think that Leisure actually absolutely had grounds for picking it yet again. Carried so much weight in a lot of those fights, engaged basically every time, and only got completely punished for it in the very end, the last fight that ended the first game. So as long as Leisure is able to mix things up with that instigation on the Xin Zhao, I feel like he'll do even better than they did last time. Graves pick again, no doubt going back to Waifu again. Absolutely gonna slay on that still. And the Jin getting picked up by Penta.
This is something that I'm surprised to see because I expected Penta to ban it away. AC on Team Tri looked really good on Jin last game, but Penta have this weird mishmash of champions, the first 3 picks alone, that seem like mostly denials from Team Tri, but don't quite jive together as a team composition just yet. Xerath wants to do it feels like very different things from the Graves, and the Jin and Xerath perhaps getting along a little bit better are both very squishy. So Team Penta, make no mistake, they have 3 champions. They don't have a composition just yet. And Try, I'd say they're getting there. They've got an idea that they want to roam from the mid lane. They've got another long range harasser in the bot lane with this Lux, or at least we can assume. So I wonder what the ultimate tanks will be, if any of them show up, since we are still looking for a top laner from Team Tri, and I can assume perhaps a jungler from Team Penta?
You know, it's funny. I feel like Try is taking the strategies that they had last game and kind of doubling down on the one that seemed to work more than anything else, which is the invasion during a fight. The Xin Zhao and the Tom Kench able to dive in at any moment's notice. Jay just did it better last time, but hey, the Viego's gone and Penta's got to choose a new jungler. But I think their setup is really allowing for Xin Zhao to prosper, potentially somebody else that can just jump into a fight kind of willy-nilly and then jump back out to their team again. We saw it with the Gnar a lot as well, back from Try last time, and that's how we saw so much easy ramping. I think the Lux can set up a lot of solid roots, along with the ultimate setting up a lot of damage for Xin Zhao to not only go for instigation, but for finishers. And TF, I mean, that's a get out of jail free card if you play your cards right.
Quite literally, quite literally, and
Thank
with,
you, thank you, thank you.
it was impressive. I gotta say, it caught me off guard, and now I'm prepared. I would say more so for this game. What I'm not prepared for is this next pick because you talked about the Tom Kench, and I'd like to see something like that picked up because right now neither team has
Oh,
engaged. But try make a very nice decision here to pick up the Jax, and I like it because if you're gonna play split pushing, nobody does it better than Jax.
oh yeah, Try's gonna start fights. Try is
Mhm.
absolutely gonna start a lot of fights. And Penta, their comp is kind of ready for it. I question the Jin pick as Try commits more and more to this strategy, but I'm not going to question an Amumu as long as
Mhm.
it's locked in.
This is good. This is good, perhaps not in a meta sense, but in a compositional sense. This gives you a tank and it gives you engage, both things that Team Penta desperately need, and it gives them crucially a lot more flexibility with what could be either their mid or their support as a pick. But those cards will have to be revealed right now. Oriana, perhaps a return to Duradin looked really good on it last game. It does keep them relatively AP heavy with a lot of utility for these fights.
Which means Xerath is going to head back down to that bot lane probably and try and get some damage done for Try Team this time around. But Try,
How did I forget?
I think they found their Easter egg. I
They got to
think they
do it.
found everything. Yeah, they found the thing that I
Oh my
think
god.
every single one of us had forgotten about. Zeri wasn't banned, guys.
Oh my god. And through all of it, Team Try go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. This champion is busted. Let's just pull it out one more time. And this is incredible because now Team Try have themselves a composition that, well, it has a lot of early power, also scales ridiculously well. You've got this split pushing element in Jax that will, again, outscale everyone. And Zeri, if she is alive, you are not at the end of the day. It is really, it's sort of a Harry Potter-esque thing. Nobody can live while Zeri survives. And Team Penta have got to look out for what is a very snowbally, very scary AD carry on Team Try.
I'm looking at this overwhelming potential control that Try has on the top and at the bottom, and all I'm thinking right now is whoever's playing Amumu has got to work quick. Dark
Mhm.
Leisure, who's or not Dark Leisure, Jay, who's gonna
Mhm.
play this Amumu, is gonna have to work quickly if they want to make sure that they're not absolutely overwhelmed by this top and bot lane. That's probably going to be taken at least room wise pretty early by Zeri and Jax. I think that Amumu is going to have a lot less space to roam around. I think that the pathing is going to have to be a lot tighter and reliant again on Duradin, on the Oriana. We saw Jay not necessarily having to retreat back to mid lane that often. We saw him able to roam around a lot and then start the fights with primarily bot laners. However, I feel like at this point, Amumu, Jay is going to have to stick a bit closer to home this time around. Probably not start that many fights, but that's not what Penta's built for. They're built for reacting. And as long as they react accordingly, they may be able to stop this damage. And there
Yeah,
is a lot of damage.
I think that the one thing they've got going for them when you talk about that reactivity is that Penta, for all that it seems like I want this wombo combo of a team fight with the Amumu and Oriana composition, or rather combination, they also have a lot of ways to push waves in their side lanes in order to support J51 because the Amumu's weakness is that early clear when he can be invaded by Xin Zhao, when he doesn't have a lot of potential to fight. But if you're pushing both the top and the bot lane, if Orion is able to get some semblance of push in the mid lane, you're always going to be able to collapse on Dark Leisure if he does go for these invades and keep J51 in the game. Your goal seems to be to arrive at these mid game fights once Oriana's on one end and once Xerath joins her and start to take away these team fights. And I do mean team fights, not skirmishes. Whereas Try do seem a lot more skirmish oriented, do seem a lot more like they want to show up in the side lane. They've got that Xin Zhao for the early presence, and crucially, they have the Twisted Fate to come with him once the level sixes are hit.
The crazy thing is Penta was prepared to show up as a unit, and Try is not really gonna want to allow for that,
Mhm.
especially in the first half of this game. They're gonna attack in a very fragmented fashion and catch somebody off guard or out of position if one member of Penta steps out of line, regardless of whether it's a Mumu or not, because it will be a Mumu a lot. Penta's going to suffer really dearly. They won't have one of the crucial tools they'll use to punish whoever's jumping in, which means that somebody else can then jump in, and then it's going to be very procedural for Try.
It really is. Lots of eyes on AC this game as well, piloting the Zeri, a massive, explosive, electric force in the game that can take over. I'm trying to get some in as well. And, well, you know what? I need to think of a few more puns before we get into the game, so I think it's only fair that we take a break before we pop in towards the Rift. A reminder as we go on break that commentating for this event is provided by Beyond Ranked. It's a platform that you can book commentators for anything, whether it's a tournament, a league, or even a show match between friends. You can find someone to amp up your gameplay. If you're a tournament or a league organizer, you can use Beyond Ranked to manage your entire broadcast team by finding new talent, adding them to your team, and assigning them to specific broadcasts. Gone are the days of using spreadsheets and doodle polls, because now you can just use Beyond Ranked to find people like us, Tenrek. It's been awesome. Check out beyondranked.com or hop in their Discord today. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fractal Gaming Tournament. Game 2 of Team Penta versus Team Try. The factions face off in a 3-day tournament. Penta find themselves up 1 game in a best of 3 and on the verge of closing things out.
Well, Try is back to the drawing board of invasions. Everybody set up a little closer to the river this time, but doesn't seem like anybody's really going to walk through. Everybody on Penta is having their own little moments. They're Jay chilling, seeing if anybody steps into their territory. A little bit of preliminary scouting for every side, but everyone's going to get to their posts and we can start playing some League of Legends.
Thank God. I'm excited to get into it, as it seems like relatively normal starts will be had for both junglers, both starting on the bot side, interestingly enough. So J51 having very few defensive wards outside of the one placed by Thick Waifus around his blue, does run the risk of being invaded by tries. There's not that much information. A reminder, of course, that Penta have swapped sides, so they are now on the blue side. They are the ones up a game, and if they win, the series will come to an end. Try on the other side, from the red side, will be fighting for their lives and have the tools to do so a lot earlier, specifically owing to that Xin Zhao. Dark Leisure has to be feeling all sorts of pressure as we get into this game, because he's the one that's got to be making early plays happen.
Yeah, he's got to find the power in whatever picks he can find, or I mean, whatever territory he can claim at this point, really. If Leisure sees Jay, he's got to go fight him. I mean, it's as simple as that. In these first couple levels, basically up to 7 or 8, honestly, if Leisure sees Jay, then he's going to ask, hey, where's everyone else? And if the gates are open just a second, if he can get his foot in the door for just one moment, then he's going to take that chance. And if he doesn't, then that's an opportunity that's been so missed, and that's just even more space for Jay to keep roning and get this ramp quick and be able to use all the abilities for the fights once they start coming. Penta has so much room for advantage, but Try has to give that room over.
Absolutely, especially in this early game is when Penta can sort of use the small parts of their kits to try and mitigate Try's otherwise very powerful composition, and the way to do that is going to be through these side lanes where we've got the Jhin Xerath that worked so well for Team Try last game, now piloted by Penta. If they're able to dominate this lane, if Thick Waifu is able to survive, which doesn't look like he's going to be, then you've got the recipe for success. Right now, maybe finding 1-for-1 though. Ronnie forced to flash away, and Dark Leisure ultimately going to claim first blood. A very nice roam, a very good early play, and a great start for Team Try.
That's a great start. Ronnie let him get some space and punished him for it. That's the exact kind of thing you want to do as a Jax. Give them too much space and then make them pay for it. Now Ronnie can get a little bit of extra ramp in his Jax. He is more than happy that that is the case.
Now, a reminder for those of you just tuning in, it occurred to me that not everybody may be on the same page as us right now. We are changing 2 names on your screens right now. Team Penta, their support, named Ballmeat for now, will be referred to as Huck, as is his name, and Try, their support, KR, I carry lane, will be referred to in these games as PJ. So, if we say Huck or PJ, we're likely talking about the supports.
That's true. And we will be talking about these supports quite a bit, especially as the game carries on. So much of their utility is going to be absolutely huge linchpins of all of these fights as they carry forth and really start blossoming from just normal skirmishes into full-fledged battles. Jay approaching through river, but of course, I mean, Jay can't really stay anywhere for too long because that just means that he is going to be in the wrong place at some point and get punished by somebody wandering their direction. So they will stay on the move. As Leisure's gonna keep control of his top side, and oh, Ronnie's gonna try and engage up in top.
I mean, you would think that Jay couldn't do much against the Xin Zhao, but Jay's gone and done something completely illegal. I invite everyone to look at their minimaps right now. So hold on, wait a minute. Thick Waifus might die. One more auto from Ronnie, and we're going to have to hold the point. Ronnie going for it. There we go.
Hey!
Gets a little bit of extra health. Gets a solo kill up in the top side. And in the meantime, I have to finish this. Jay got 2 scuttles as an Amumu before anything, with very little help. It is wild that we're getting an Amumu with 2 scuttles. That doesn't happen.
That's a lot of gold going Jay's way very early into the game. I feel like we should be a little scared of the Amumu from here on out. I feel like in general we should just start being fearful of the mummy.
It's like him and Jax right now that I think you have to be terrified of.
Absolutely.
If you're running into either of them, you got to start wondering what's going to happen, because already Jay does provide a lot of crowd control, and if anybody joins up with him, it's a big deal. However, Ronnie, powerful all on his own. And up in this top side, for Jax to find a solo kill so early on doesn't bode too well for Penta.
It's funny, we haven't really talked about mid all that much, but that's just because Momo endured, and they've still been doing their thing. It's almost like top lane was back in last game. Not too much engagement just because, I mean, one of the junglers isn't going to roam too much in mid, which means that Leisure isn't going to really want to roam too much in mid either. They're going to want to take advantage of the room that they have to walk around freely, get a lot of neutrals, and potentially go for this Drake without too much contesting. I mean, you have the backup of AC as well as PJ down in bot, and Momo's on the way back from mid here, but again, Duridan's just going to let all that happen. And the Hex Tech will go the way of Try here, who's found a lot of early game momentum here. But again, Penta is the team that's waiting for Try to move in and hopefully try and punish them.
And Try. Oh, you keep getting me with the. You
That
keep
wasn't
getting me
even
with these.
inten-
I
that
don't
wasn't
even
even
think.
intentional.
You
No,
said it, and I was like, I don't think he meant it, but it was just too good. It's coming. It's coming naturally at this point. The puns are free flowing. Really nice play from Hello Momo in the mid lane as well, as we talked about them being, I would say, a bit of a slower lane as you illustrated, but largely because these level 6s are so important. Right now, level 6 becomes most important. As Hello Momo with the gold card shows up in the bot side. They know Jay is here. Dark Leisure is here to answer it, and already Nova Crone is gone. A teleport in from Duridan to try and equalize the numbers, and the hook landing onto Dark Leisure leaves him exposed. No level 6 for him, but he's still alive, deals a lot of damage back, and as the shockwave connects onto 3, it is again a little bit too early to seal the deal on a fight. Duridan's getting insane value for these, but you're just not that strong on Orianna yet. It looks cool, but it ain't it.
Yeah, and Leisure didn't have an exit strategy, so it'll be a solid trade out. I think Penta is perfectly content with that. Try is always going to be looking for more, and if you don't give them that, they're gonna stay scrappy, they're gonna stay hungry, and they're gonna stay punishable. Like I said, those little number 6s can turn into big number 6s as the game rages on. And I mean, if you don't find enough connection with any of those utilities beforehand, then those little 6s seem farther and farther away. Top lane rages on still.
Ronnie's going for this.
A lot more space.
Yeah, there's no dash available on Thick Waifus anymore. Already used that quick draw, now moving forward with it. But Ronnie's already ulted. Ronnie has basically already killed him. One more auto would do it, and the Empowered, no less. As Jax finds another solo kill in this top side. It's a matter of time.
I mean, Ronnie is just being given all the space in the world right now, truthfully. Waifu's it just doesn't seem like he knows how much space he's allowed to take. But against a Jax, it's very difficult to do that. Could leap in at any moment and stun you with a counterattack and not take any damage along the way. And stun you with a crit. I mean, you're already down to half health by the time you've walked one step ahead of mid brush. It is definitely terrifying, but the problem is it doesn't get any less scary as the game goes on. Waifus can recontest, but I mean, already 2 levels behind, this top game is going to become so neutral for Penta, especially if they want to snag the second map away, along with the ramp that they're looking for from Jay, who has reached 6 as well. Could Sad Mummy, could curse in on a fight, but question is, which fight would that be? Nothing is really looking to get engaged too far soon. I mean, Try is going to grab this Herald pretty freely. Jay might try and jump in afterwards with the help of Duridan, and that's actually exactly what they're going to do.
I mean, it's a really good ult. Again, 2 really good ults even, but even so, Dark Leisure not going to die fast enough. Duridan now flashed on himself. Does end up getting gold carded and gets out with the blast cone, it looks like. Thick Waifus may be able to pick up a kill. Counter-Strike does a lot of work, but does it do enough? Shutdown ends up going over to Duridan, and it is a massive as Hello Momo is unable to fully clean up, but is able to get out. Duridan in a lot of danger himself there. Had me worried for a second, but trade ultimately still very much benefiting Team Try right now, as they're the ones that got the Rift Herald and got the initial kills.
Yeah, they definitely got a lot more connection out of that than they
AC,
really
ult, Novacrone's dead. Novacrone's absolutely dead. Cleanse is coming as well, and there it is. The very last burst fire takes down this Jhin. Big stuff for Team Try.
Yeah, there's so much presence on the field right now from Try. They really can't be stopped at the moment. So much damage, so many people around at any point in time, and so much health gone from Huck. I mean, that's going to be a plate or 2 cut off from bot, and Leisure knows that, is going to try and capitalize as much as they can. They're recognizing a lot of these openings, and Ronnie sees yet another one. Waifus is just, he keeps opening himself up.
Jay's here, though. Maybe the waifus gets to escape. Cannot step up too far towards Ronnie. Instead, Jay's going to try and take this kill. Counter-Strike up again. Stun going to connect, and Ronnie looks like he's going to get out alive underneath the tower. Rift Herald popped in the bot side as well. Means that Ronnie has effectively absorbed 2 people's worth of time and secured his team the very first tower of the game. It seems small, but we know it's massive for this Zeri.
Oh, yeah. No, he engaged and sure, didn't expect that Jay was on the way through, but as long as he survived, he was doing his job, and he did his job quite well to the point where now Ronnie can jump right back in with the TP right after backing. I mean, so much momentum now for Try, so much more than even before where it seemed like they were just trucking right along. Not really any room to grow here for Penta kind of organically. They had to make their way on through less conventional means, a little more of a lag behind. They may be paying for it dearly here as everybody's going to converge in mid. You may see a skirmish, and I mean, Penta would adore that.
Really would. This is, oh my god, maybe a little bit too far forward, though. Penta wanted a skirmish. They didn't want a tower dive. And now it's disaster. Everything was set up from Try. The counter engage, and underneath the tower, it looked a little bit too easy for him. Try, with that early setup, earned themselves so much, and Dragon is honestly the least of their rewards. This is the game plan that we saw put forth in game 1 that we're now seeing pay off in game 2 as Ronnie goes on another flank, goes on another engage, finds Novacrone with the stun, and jumps over the wall for him as well. Huck forced to flash away and leave his AD carry for dead.
This is such a weird scatter coming from Penta at this point. I'm not seeing a lot of intention behind a lot of what they do. And I mean, Try doesn't seem to find anything because they keep punishing them for it. They keep killing them. These KDAs are absolutely I mean, Ronnie's already 4-1-1, as well as the 2-0 coming from Momo as well up in mid. The roaming potential from mid lane already has been so insane. It's funny how the speed of that just picked up so quickly the second that anybody else found an opening. That's the kind of rhythm that Try is looking for, and that's the kind of rhythm that they found.
You know, it's a really difficult thing into the composition of Try to decide where you want to allocate resources as well, because do you put them into holding down the Jax, who's already ahead, try and keep him from becoming that split-pushing monster when you know you really can't do anything? Or do you try and team fight into a Zeri? It feels like there's a no-win situation that's being created here, this sort of Kobayashi Maru for Team Penta, and I honestly understand why they're not feeling too good about it, why they are looking so stuttery in this mid game, and it's because they've been put in one of the most difficult positions in League of Legends. If they could find their way out of it, though, it would be nothing short of a miracle.
I mean, there's still a lot of potential coming from damage here for both sides, of course, but Try is so overwhelming right now that, again, Penta, they have to play a little bit crappy, and they have to stay back, which is not what they've been too keen on doing so far, especially waifus. He's still trying to find some space, but Ronnie is just giving him less and less.
I gotta respect it. Like, the thick waifus just quick drawed forward into that engagement with absolutely no flash and survived. So as much as I'm looking at it and going, oh my god, I don't know, it's working in some small way. He does have to reset, however, and that's the concern, is that Ronnie, well, he also doesn't have TP. There's no teleport available, and Jax is going to hammer away at that tower. You've already lost one, and Penta haven't actually claimed their own first tower of the game.
They haven't really gotten close either. There hasn't been a fight where I could really see them saying to themselves, yeah, this is the moment where we can get a turret, and that's exactly what we're going to do. They haven't allowed themselves that space. But
no vision.
Certainly a lot of space available here. Jay's going to try and engage onto Ronnie, actually, and Waifus is there to try and support him, so Ronnie's just going to have to try and get out of here. Has the Counter-Strike available to do it, but Waifus is here to engage, and Leisure might be a little too late to the party here. The TP's coming in, though, and just like
really
that, Jay and Waifus might be in too much danger, but Ronnie's already gone. Back to a 2v2 and a lot of resources.
3v3.
The temper tantrum's already out, and PJ's on the way too, and that's available for Waifus to go away, and follow that quickly is Jay taking down Momo, and the ult on to PJ as well. Everybody's now up in top lane. That is the instigation that Penta was looking to completely capitalize on, and it was all thanks to Jay starting things out. We're seeing the pieces finally come together the least bit for Team Penta.
Jay and Duradin change everything, and they're the two members that you needed to be online right now, that you needed to be fully focused on landing the picture perfect, the frame perfect ultimates. They do exactly that in one of the most crucial fights. As everybody moved up towards topside, had Penta lost, they would have lost everything. Multiple teleports, multiple lives, so much gold, but as it is, being able to clean up a few kills, they start to even up this game, and with the team fighting tools that they already demonstrated to us just now, it's looking like a game that they could easily come back into with a few more like that. A lot of gold just got injected into Jay and Duradin, the front line, the massive nuclear weapon of the back line, respectively. So I'm excited to see what they bring to us next.
That Aegis is going to carry a lot in the upcoming team fights, which means that Penta, they're going to start engaging. They're going to start gunning for these big dogs. They're going to start going for the fights that get them objectives and a lot more gold. This is the moment where both teams, they search for their ramp and they search for a way to start closing out these T2s a lot more consistently. Everybody's grouping up near this bottom side of the river. They're prepared to fight over this dragon that's about to come up.
Rift Herald could be popped in the mid lane right now. It's a very common strategy when you have Rift as the next dragon is coming up to sort of let that go. Jay can drop it in mid and then try and contest the dragon so that Tri have to choose between getting Soul Point and getting the Drake. As it is, looks like they want to go for an engage. Jay looks for it, is sitting on a ward right now though, so it's unlikely to find it. Ronnie, however, continually pushing in this top side means that Tri are going to get something. The question is just how much.
Well, they have the Herald to do something with it now. Even though there's two members contesting, there's still a lot of room, especially with that wave coming on. And that's going to mean that at least they're distracted for a moment here while Penta can try and engage on this Drake. And indeed they will. They're willing to sacrifice something to at least stall the soul coming off.
Somebody's got to deal with Ronnie
here on River.
It's now 4v4 as Huck's still alive. There we go. Instant shockwave, but it's just onto one member. Hello Momo still alive. Finally ends up going down as Jay flashes out underneath the tower. No ultimate for him anymore. Means that he can't lock anybody up underneath this structure. And Huck is scared of even stepping up to clear this wave. So the turret's going to be equalized in this mid lane. Actually, just the turret going over to Team Tri as Penta's Rift Herald didn't even manage to take down the mid lane structure. And definitely the building advantage is going to Tri right now. 4 turrets to just the 1 from Penta. Penta crucially did get what they came for in that dragon.
Yeah, I mean, Penta, they were willing to lose something to at least get that 1 Drake boost that they can work with a little bit more now. But again, it just means that they're back to the drawing board for the next step. They're kind of stunting themselves, but it's kind of the way that they need to play this right now. They can see the competition, but they can't touch.
They really can't, and that's the difficult thing for them, is that without Jay finding a perfect bandage toss, Penta do not have a way to engage, and for Tri, honestly, they don't have a way to engage. That's just it. Maybe Hello Momo with a Messiah play, using the ultimate to get into the back lines, then using a stopwatch. You can sort of engage, but even that seems sort of iffy at this point. It's very difficult for Tri to start fights even when they know it'll be advantageous, and it means that they've got to continue to put Penta in very difficult positions like they just did, putting Ronnie in a side lane, leaving this Jax to split push to become a monster. We do have levels equalized, however, between he and Thick Waifus, and that's a little concerning.
Funny thing is the characters that have all the tools to get in quick also have all the tools to get out quick. So it's a bit of a question of, would Ronnie, Leisure, and AC be more willing to use their mobility abilities to get in or get out of a fight? And at the moment, it depends on how willing Penta is to allow a fight right now. Tri is kind of just laying in wait for somebody to be waiting for an audacious charge from Leisure, because that's what started winning a lot of fights in game 1. And I bet you that Tri isn't looking to stop that sort of strategy now. Hey, Leisure, if you find a spot where you can win a fight, let's win a fight, please. I'm sure Leisure isn't denying that sort of idea from them. But at the same time, Penta, they're a team that's going to also try and wait for a fight. So it's a lot of waiting for missteps, which means a lot of the abilities that are used often to get inside fights are a lot of the time going to be used to get outside of them and then jump back in.
Whew, we went on a real long journey, and I understand. It is a difficult thing to decide whether you're going to try and commit or not when you have limited mobility in towards these potentially deadly objectives, these to potentially deadly fights. And that's what makes the cooldowns from Jay and Duradin so crucial, because they are the things that Try have to be afraid of. This Curse of the Sad Mummy and the Shockwave are two massive team fight ultimates, and if either one of them is down, Penta run the risk of losing a fight, because outside of them, their DPS just cannot stand up to AC alone. Zeri is absolutely terrifying. We touched on it in the draft, and once she hits those 2-3 items, it only gets worse. It only gets scarier.
And they've got to connect with all of these abilities as well. There's a lot riding on just how skillful Penta is, and Try skill can really interfere with that right now, and it has so far. They've clearly gained more territory than Penta was willing to offer, which is any territory. They've let them walk in, and Try isn't planning to leave anytime soon. Look at the confidence that Leisure is just exhuming right now.
He's dead. It's too much confidence, not enough vision. Words save lives, folks. And in this specific situation, losing your jungler at the 21-minute mark means you might lose Baron.
That's exactly what they're looking to make happen, but PJ, along with Momo and AC, they're waiting around the bend. I try and jump in and steal this. They have a ward available, and they're doing some pot shots, which means that Penta's gonna disengage and apparently back out.
Wow.
Actually, completely, wow. Not even gonna try and engage this fight. They know when they're not wanted.
I'm surprised to see Penta back away from the Baron. They had the picture-perfect opportunity to try and take this. Well, they would have suffered some poke. A 4v5 should have gone in their favor, but backing away now means that they forfeit a chance at this objective and force themselves into a potentially deadly fight around Dragon. They who win this Drake fight should get not one, but two objectives, being able to pick up the Baron afterwards as well. It would make this pick very scary. AC does get a little bit of vision, goes over the wall into 3 members. Will he go down? Cleanse gets used. Gold card connects. AC's going to start popping off right now. Finds a 1 pick and is going to make it 2, maybe even 3. Thick Wave Fuse does come in to try and stop it, but he goes down himself. It's a triple kill for AC.
Everyone from Penta there was just a little too late with using what they needed to, and Jay is just standing alone. Gonna try and take a ward and can't even complete on that. They're gonna TP in. Leisure's gonna try and do some damage here. Isn't gonna find any completion. Just keep intimidating the competition as long as possible. Oh, but Ronnie might find some extra damage here too. This is looking kind of brutal at this point for Penta. Any semblance of a fight they can find, they're going to have to try and engage for, but they lose so many of those fights, including the one for the Dragon. That's 3 going the way of Try.
They didn't end up opting into rotating to the Baron. Importantly, Try, while they put themselves on Soul Point, do not get the double objective. And that alone may be the thing that keeps Penta with hope for the next fight. At this point, they are down, say, 3,000, almost 4,000 gold. But if they can eliminate a member, as they've proven to be able to do previously, they can get themselves a 4v5. They can win that 4v5, no questions asked. But it has to be clean. It has to be decisive, and it cannot be with very little vision. Already Huck getting caught out. The 4v5 not going exactly the way we thought it would, and AC now on the prowl.
Yeah, the 4v5 is more of a 1 and 1 and 1 and 1.
Jay?
V5 at the moment is Jay looks to be the next victim. Momo can dash right on in. Finally, initial damage here. Leisure can dash right in. The presence is so overwhelming from Try right now. One little ramp could really make the world turn for Penta, but Try is not letting them have it just yet. And it's a long-winded rotation, but they will finally make their way to the Baron.
And Duradin just wasn't there. Penta couldn't fight because they didn't have both sides, the wombo and the combo. They only had one. And without Jay being able to lay down the ultimate and Duradin layer his on top, it's ultimately nothing that it comes to. However, Baron Pit still a very risky proposition against Duradin right now. Shockwave could cause chaos. Against 4 members, it only catches 1 in the most crucial of moments. Duradin has stalled the Baron, but he may go down for that. Goes low and ultimately does fall as over the wall, right at the arcane, does a lot of damage, and AC's doing a lot as well. He commits himself, his own body, and does end up picking up 2 kills for it.
The fight was already done, and yet Nova Crone and Huck tried to commit to the open lines, get some extra damage out to maybe trade things out, but they missed practically everything again. They were always late, and they're paying for it even more dearly than before. Poor Jay is alone yet again and cannot do anything to defend this turret. Left in a little more of a vulnerable position this time, though, than trying to take down a ward. But even so, Try They again know when they've taken enough. They are very disciplined at this point. They are going to back out yet again, satisfied with yet another really great fight.
Objective bounty is now available, by the way, for the first time this game. That gold lead has grown enough that even Riot Games has stepped in and gone, all right, Penta, if you can get something, you should absolutely be rewarded for it. We gotta watch that Baron that the game has been about for the past 4 minutes, but even further, we've got to watch out for the next 2 minutes when Mountain Drake will spawn again, and where Tri have the opportunity to secure themselves the Mountain Soul.
That would be probably one of the biggest takes we've seen yet. Nobody's really done too much with a Herald or a Baron buff in either of these games, and yet the Dragons have caused so much distress among all of these teams. We've seen far more fights over at the Drakes than at the Baron and the Herald, and we've seen a lot of fights in the mid lane at this point. Another one taking down Durden. Nobody can really be alone from Penta at this point.
No, it's a pick out of nowhere, really. With the Twisted Fate, you are able to manufacture these plays like that, and while team fight engage may not be rife, Durden cannot step up if he is in vision. He learns that lesson then. Question is it a little bit too late? Sitting at 2 items right now, working on his third. He's now left his team without a way to team fight for the next 14 seconds. Doesn't have teleport either, and his thick waifus and Ronnie go at it in this bot side. Jay's coming over, but the Baron is gonna go down to Team Tri.
And it seemed like such a weird psychological game. Penta seemed unaware for a little too long and then was like, wait, should we go recontest over at Baron or should we go capitalize on the fact that we know Ronnie's alone? And the answer wasn't found in time either way. Ronnie's found too and is trying to avoid the curtain call, as well as Hux attacks but can't do both. Will finally fall, but again, they found all the connection they really need. The Baron buff is up and Tri is already on a rampage for it.
2v1 the bot lane is absolutely devastating at this point as well. Tri have manufactured such a clean game state now that they've got the Baron, and though they are missing their split pusher, they've got all the access that they need into this mid lane. Dark Leisure has absolutely nothing to fear, and Tri look like they are going to be evening up the game score. We've just got a little bit longer to go. They've got the inhibitor down, and Penta, again, we said it before, and I say it again, now with more emphasis, need a miracle to be able to pull this game out.
Well, they need a miracle and a whole lot more gold. They're almost 8k behind right now. The kinds of gaps that you only see at a point where somebody is looking to end. And Tri is absolutely looking to end. Look at that opening damage so much before the fight even really starts. And you already know, Penta needs to fight this out to prevent the soul.
But they can't. A 4-man final spark from PJ puts an end to any hope that Penta had of contesting this soul. And now that soul has been secured, any hope of contesting the fights, really, because we're looking at the composition from Penta. Wombo Combo Burst has always been the name of the game, and with a Mountain Soul, a shield, a whole lot of resistances in their way, that just went from difficult to nearly impossible to do.
These were the kinds of buffs that these invaders were really looking for. Dark Leisure is going to have a field day with this soul now, along with PJ, Momo, and AC finding waifu in the bot lane. They're right at the doorstep of these turrets at this point, and yet they are so utterly dominant at the moment. More and more room being overtaken by this red side to equalize things and take us to a game 3.
Okay, PJ goes for the little engage there. The terrifying thing about this push isn't even all the 4 people that are here, but it's the one that's in top lane as well. Nobody can challenge Ronnie. Nobody can challenge these 4. Dark Leisure looking for an engage on J51 under the Nexus Towers of all things. As Jay finds the ultimate onto AC, the cleanse comes through and the shockwave whiffs entirely with no cooldowns and what looks like very little hope. Penta may just be able to somehow claw their way back as a massive shutdown goes the way of Huck. Momo gets rooted on the way out. Double inhibitors have fallen, but look who's knocking at the door. Ronnie is quite literally taking down the Nexus Towers.
I mean, he's gotten a lot of space cleared out, and no, Penta can clutch out the fight. It took everything and then some to even find 1 or 2 kills and not lose both of their Nexus turrets along the way. All of their inhibs are gone, Try is going to have to play such heavy defense, or Penta rather, is going to have to play such heavy defense. And while that is kind of what they wanted, they are not well equipped to handle everything that is about to come their way. It's looking to be the final chapter of game number 2 between Try and Penta here.
It really is. This is the time for Try to put their foot on the gas, close out this game, send us to that third where both these teams are going to be fighting not to be eliminated from this tournament. Penta right now have got to be considering their options for game 3 as well, because thinking about what they drafted going into this game, a lot of it was about punishment in lane. And while they did that exceptionally, it's really been Ronnie and Leisure, even Momo, who have found these engages in side lanes just like this.
Oh, wow. Momo's already in, and that just means Waifu's fate is sealed. Dashing out, doesn't matter. You're gone now, 4v5. As Try is going to re-enter the base here with a lot more diversity in where they can go. They have all the room in the world to go. The chances are limitless for them to just roam freely and take bodies wherever they so choose. Jay has to keep his presence and gets a curse out so the curtain call can come out. But the damage onto the Nexus is too heavy and too consistent. Team Try will dominantly take game number 2.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to appreciate it. Taking a look at the way that they closed that out, this was the composition that they had dreamed of in game 1. The one that gets to take the game away through plays that are made map wide and turn it into a game that Penta couldn't keep up with. We saw a really good idea from Penta. Win the side lanes, take the Graves, take the Xerath, take the Jhin, and make it impossible for you to lane in either top or bottom so that you're forced to coalesce around mid where you've got a shockwave ready. It seemed flawless. It seemed perfect. But Try ended up winning the top lane, snowballing that through everything, and Momo was a massive contributor to it on the Twisted Fate. Try are a team that are working together like a well-oiled machine.
All that damage when they saw on the draft, it went exactly how Try wanted it to go. They were able to converge everywhere that they needed to, take objectives along the way, and eventually just completely eat up that defense, especially with the help of those Earth Soul, of the Mountain Soul that came out as well. Just the sustain to help out all that massive amount of damage was really something to watch and help Try take away game number 2, which means we got one more to play before we call it a night.
Yeah, we got a third. We got a very, very exciting one as well. Penta and Try got to battle this out once more time in the Fractal Gaming Tournament. A reminder, of course, this is hosted by Fractal, founded by Justin. So if you guys want to join one of the largest gaming communities out there, the ever-growing one, I suggest joining our Discord, which will be linked in the chat as I say these words. Check out the Fractal Gaming community. See if you yourself can participate for some of these amazing prizes in our upcoming tournaments. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with game 3. Welcome back to the Fractal Gaming Tournament, folks. I gotta say, me and Tenrek have been discussing in the off time, in the break, what exactly we think we're going to see for Game 3. And while we've had our theories back and forth, the consensus has largely been that we really can't tell you because both these teams have been popping off in a variety of different ways. But as we get into the draft, that'll give us a much clearer idea. So let's pop in.
Game is definitely going to be an unpredictable one, and it's hard to exactly gauge what these teams are thinking at this point, because it feels like their mindsets are changing ever so rapidly. Penta, they won on the ramp try, they didn't allow the ramp to happen, and so then they won. So it's kind of that ever present question of how can Penta win alternatively now, or how can Try keep this kind of momentum now that they've won. It's a question that can only be answered by how these teams end up faring against each other. And again, the chemistry that's been developing over these past two games continues to carry over into this third one. The ways that these players work with and against each other is so integral to how team fights work out, and team fights play such a gigantic role in the comps that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to look at this historically as well. When Penta have won their games, just again working off a sample size of one, it was because they had an incredible scaling composition and they were able to play in a way that helped Duradin set up ultimates consistently. A lot of this composition has relied on his success and the ability of the rest of his team to provide adequate threats for him to continue to lay down damage over. Try, on the other hand, had a lot more flexibility in their win, and a lot of it relied on side lane dominance from Ronnie and playmaking from Momo. Two things that we really needed to watch out for in this game are how autonomous the solo lanes are going to get to be from Try, because it's going to determine a lot.
To find a lot of damage on their own one by one. Yeah, Ronnie particularly so. And we see that coming out in a lot of these bans, both sides. They understand what they fear and what they don't want each other to get. That's why Try is banning the Viego yet again. That was rocked by Jay back in game one. And this time, the TF yet again. Meanwhile, Penta, they get rid of that Xin Zhao ASAP. They're tired of Dark Leisure having the freedom of the Xin Zhao.
Now, Try have also in the past two games taken away Sona and Scion in bands 2 and 3. So I do wonder if Penta try and pick one of those up, if not in first rotation, at the very least in second. But I love the return to greatness from Team Try, because one of the massive pieces of their victory absolutely has to be one of the most broken ADCs on this patch.
Yeah, just swipe it right under their noses even earlier now, why don't you? I mean, Penta, they didn't get rid of the Zeri this time, so take the Zeri back yet again, get that insane amount of damage every single fight from a distance, even on the retreat yet again. Penta, first victor of the match that we've seen as well. That should be interesting.
I mean, if you listen, I can already hear the sound of Durden's knuckles cracking as he's like, all right, this time I'm not just going to press R. I'm going to press all my buttons in the most stylish way possible. Because to call it back, Durden has been playing for a very, very long time, has a focus on control mages, and has been the linchpin of this team. With a Sivir picked up in the bot lane, I think that only doubles down on this. Sivir scales immensely well, but what she really does well is wave clear from safety. Penta have the ability to stall and to hyperscale with these two picks alone.
Penta's looking to clean house as quickly as possible so they can just get this show on the road. They're itching to find bodies and find another victory, but they're not going to let it happen so easily. They already have that massive damage from Zeri, and they just picked up a Hecarim.
Okay, I like it. Dark Leisure
Yeah.
has been a very vocal part of this team, right? When we consider games 1 and 2 and how sharply they contrast, a lot of it had to do with how much autonomy Dark Leisure had. Nobody says, I am the jungler, I am in charge, like a Hecarim does, because he brings his team together and he can deal with multiple people in a backline once he gets going. The weak part of this team right now for Team Try is that they need to scale, but their strengths in the mid game are massive.
They are going to need to find that sort of hero that can really get things springboarded out. Penta, they're going to
Already have
find
it?
their Lee Sin. I mean, yeah, they have the ability to kind of jump off and really run off with this victory as the game goes on. Try needs to find the way to stop that and kind of springboard themselves up on their own. This doesn't seem like a game that's going to seesaw just yet. It doesn't seem like one side is going to come down and then the other side's going to go up and then it's going to go one side down and then the other goes up. It feels like there's going to be one side piling a bunch of sandbags on one side of the seesaw and then the other side is just going to try and jump on the seesaw and see if they can fling all the sandbags up.
Yeah, it's a difficult task, but one that I'm sure they're up to. As we are in the second phase of bans, we had the first three bans, of course, for both teams. Then the first three picks, and now entering the latter stage where teams get to sort of round out exactly what they want or don't want to see. The Sona taken away as expected by Team Try, and a Scion perhaps to follow this up, since these were the things that they were taking away from Penta in games past. However, Penta importantly removed that powerhouse again in the mid lane, the Ari that we haven't actually seen today, despite her relative strength on this patch.
For sure, and the Tryndamere getting banned by Penta as well. They didn't get rid of the Jax, but they got rid of somebody from Ronnie that could still do that kind of damage. I'm not sure if that means that Try is going to pick up the Jax, or maybe Penta will upon the other ban, which is going to be Tom Kench from Try this time. But they're still going to have a massive threat in Ronnie if they don't deal with this Jax pick immediately.
I think that Penta are probably going to pick a Scion here. They've got to grab a top laner. They don't have a tank just yet. They've already got a composition that can use front to back team fighting really well. And their top laner, we know, is comfortable on it. Most importantly, comfort was king in game one of this series. And now we get the chance to return to it once more. 4 seconds left. And are they really going to go with this? Are we doing the
Wow.
Xerath once again? How is Xerath support the meta for this series?
I'm really not sure. It feels like the Xerath hasn't really gained too much ground in any of these games. Sure, you always have that looming presence from a distance and a solid amount of damage to back you up, but the follow-up hasn't really been there every single time, and that just means that Xerath has been so inconsistent in a lot of these fights. And if there's one thing you don't want in a game of League of Legends, especially for a prize pool, it's inconsistency.
It is really difficult. The nice thing is it doubles down, triples down even on that wave clear. Penta still continue to be able to stall out that game. And I think Try are starting to recognize it, right? They go, well, you've got so many tools to just keep minions from crashing into your towers, to keep yourselves from hemorrhaging too much gold. Jax can surely solve that problem. We all group up as four. We leave him alone. You cannot leave Jax alone in the 1v1. So what are you going to do? That's the question that is yet to be answered right here. Try got to round out their comp one more time. Zoe does that perfectly, allowing you to fish for engages without overcommitting. And Penta have the option to either answer this Jax and say, we're gonna side lane against you, or we're gonna force team fights without you. And this Malphite's making me think it's the latter.
I
Ooh.
I love both of these comps
Ooh.
so much. It's kind of insane because it feels like the longest game of rock paper scissors between everybody I could possibly think of. Like the Jax is chilling up in top lane, tries to aggress on the Malphite, but then Lee Sin comes in and can kick Jack backs on the jump back to get the damage back in. But then Hecarim can charge in with all the damage coming in and counter all the bulk that Malphite's providing for the Lee Sin. But then Xerath comes in from distance and charges in with a bunch of damage to supplement the Malphite's bulk. It's going to be this never-ending just dog pile of damage and support coming through in all of these team fights, and I can't not wait for it.
No, it is going to be knockdown, drag out. Absolutely. Try have so much ability and so much survivability as well with this Zeri and Hecarim that if the team fights go for very long, Try are almost certain to come out on top. But Penta, crucially, have so many tools to buy time and buy space for Duradin in the mid lane. This Victor is the crown jewel of this composition, and you can see it from the past two games. Duradin's been playing excellently on the Orianna, and now is on a mage that has a lot more autonomy in these mid games, that hyperscales to a insane level to be able to melt through people and has a lot of burst constantly throughout these fights. It's all going to be about this Victor, and on the other side for Try, we got to be looking at AC's absolutely terrifying Zeri, and up in the top lane to see whether Ronnie absolutely gaps it again.
Is the setup going to be there for either side, though? That's the biggest question. Are the heroes that aren't going to do those gigantic, massive amounts of damage, are they going to be around to pick up the pieces to be able to try and just put together this win? I feel like we might have to reset because Nova Crone did not pick Sivir. I feel like we have to change something up unless we have a different pick other than other than pick we saw on the draft. We might have to reset, but we'll see. Because Novacron just picked Aphelios, and that
Yeah.
might change. That may change the bot game a lot.
It does change. I do wonder whether the teams agreed to this, and I feel like we'll be updated by production. It seems like for right
Yeah.
now, the Aphelios is going to be the lock-in, so it's possible this was an
I've heard that's
error
bugged.
in the pro draft. And honestly, well, it doesn't change a lot about the composition. It does change the amount of wave clear, so it's worth touching on. Aphelios provides you a lot of the hyperscaling, and I do feel more comfortable with the Aphelios into Zeri matchup than anything, but at the same time, he's a lot more easily diveable and provides a lot less just on-demand utility with the wave clear, with the speed up, importantly.
That's kind of my fear with both
Mhm.
of these teams, honestly, at this point. But a little more with Penta is how are these teams going to move that much? Malphite, Aphelios, and to an extent Xerath, they're all kind of a little too static to really get a solid ramp as a unit together. I mean, it's going to be a lot of reliance on each other to kind of do what you need to do in that laning phase. Duradin is going to hope that Novacron will have the damage to back up for team fights so then Duradin can get all the damage that they need. And everyone's going to have to hope that thick waifus can hold their own in top lane so that the engagement can come with a bang when team fights start out.
Yeah, Penta on the red side. We got to be looking at thick waifus for these big engages that need to come through on the Malphite, and Duradin for the damage. We've said it before, we'll say it again. You're looking at Ronnie to start that split push and AC to pop off in the team fights. Those four legends, those four players are what you need to look out for on the Rift. And as we take a very short break before we pop onto the Rift to make sure that we get all synced up on this end, it is, of course, my turn to remind you that all of the casting for this event was found and provided by Beyond Ranked, a platform where you could book commentators for anything, whether it's a tournament, a league, or a show match between your friends. You can find someone like us, to amp up that gameplay. If you are a broadcast or a league organizer, or even somebody who just wants to get your friends together, you guys have to start using Beyond Ranked to manage your broadcast by finding new talent and adding them to your team, because you don't want to be using spreadsheets and doodle polls anymore. Those are things of the past. Don't be archaic. Use Beyond Ranked. You can check them out at beyondranked.com and hop in their Discord with any questions. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. Tri versus Penta, Game 3. This is what we've all been waiting for. Our wildest dreams were exactly that we would get to a 3-game series, that we would get the Fractal Gaming Tournament continuing on the very first day of it as well. And as these teams fight for their spot to stay in the tournament that could ultimately yield them 20 soul, a massive amount of Riot merch, an extra NFT from Fractal, and a role in our very own community Discord server that you guys can check out in the chat. There's a lot on the line for both these squads.
It's so crazy to think that both of these teams, they met so recently. They've had very little time to practice, and yet they are so tightly matched against each other. Who would have thunk the very first semifinals match of the very first monthly Fractal tournament would be this awesome?
Incredible to watch these guys grow in between the series as well. Penta definitely demonstrated a mastery of the late game in our very first matchup, and Try managed to take away the mid game in the second. This time around, I think the early game is the only question that we still have. Somebody needs to take the dominant position there, and I think Penta are pretty well set up to do it, interestingly enough. I know we looked at their composition and said that, well, this looks like a composition that wants to scale, but thinking about Jay specifically on the Lee Sin, he's the one hope that Penta have to get this one going before Try have a chance to fight back.
Oh yeah, you're gonna see Jay all over the place at the beginning of this, and he is always going to be dangerous. It doesn't matter what time it is, it doesn't matter where he is, it doesn't matter how many people are around. Jay's gonna be there, and Jay is going to do a lot. At any point in time, at any start of the fight, he just has so many different abilities to just cover all the bases here. But he wants a little bit of energy to get himself going. Gonna get a couple neutrals and not exactly engaged just yet. I'm wondering where exactly he's going to start roaming first. Is he going to start by supplying against Duradin up against this Zoe first? Or is he going to go downstairs and try and fight the damage coming from AC, which is going to be such a threat going into the later portion of this fight?
And there's a lot of lane harass being thrown down, or at least there was at the level 1s, corrupting pots for every single solo laner right now. So you know they want to be dueling, and as Jay clears up towards the top side, there's the potential for both of our junglers to get involved in these fights. Looking at the bot lane, though, it's Novacrone's health pool that's starting to worry me, because the AC and PJ are putting the screws to him.
Doing those, they're taking baby steps. They're taking the baby steps of damage to make sure that Novacrone has to take those extra seconds, and that's just gonna let Try do what they need to do what they want to do what they intend to do, which is wave clear, get all that CS done to get a wall of little guys behind them so that they can act freely for those crucial seconds, get them leveled up a little more, get them to place a ward down, get them to claim a dragon territory, get them to get a scuttler, whatever they need to do, they're going to have the space to do it with what they've set up from this draft. Speaking of which, Momo taking a lot of space up in mid lane, Durden having to back up more and more as well. You're going to see this a lot as we head into a lot of these matches. Jay and Leisure are going to meet up in jungle, but neither one really wants to take a fight just yet. Jay is going to try and meet him halfway, and Ryan might try and engage, but that just means that Penta has an excuse to return the favor as well. Oh, this is amazing already. Just the tempo both teams know that they have control of, that you can see the independence coming from both ends.
I mean, the 2v2s with Lee Sin are just nasty at this point. Looks like they're nasty in the bot lane as well. PJ having to get away. Snipe could come through from Novacrone, but instead, a little bit of ammo going to be conserved. Huck instead stepping forward as flash from PJ, and the heal coming in as well from both AD carries. Flash from Huck takes them a little bit further away, and as both ADCs chase down the respective supports, we're going to get 2 kills, a Gravitum lockup, and a double kill for Novacrone, seconds away from being completed. Last auto going to come in. AC goes down. Things are looking up for Penta.
The duality of League there for a second straight. Tunnel vision for the ADCs, but Novacrone knows that they had it under control. Were able to finish off AC. Enough damage came out there from Huck to start things out. They could find the bot lane control, and now it's a whole lot more CSing left here for PJ as well as AC. A little late here, and that just means that Drake has a lot more availability for the remainder of Penta. I mean, Jay's going to be late, and even then, I mean, this fight, it's going to be a remnant of one. Leisure might have a presence just to stall things maybe, but Duradin's there too. I mean, That's already some great established dominance there from Penta early on into this game.
And it's not just the power of the Lee Sin, which already is strong, but it's the lane push that you get by picking up the Xerath, by winning the fight with Aphelios, and by having a Victor in the mid lane. This dragon always should have gone over to Penta off of draft alone. Top lane, however, looking a little bit funny as Ronnie tries to stop the reset from Thick Waifus, and to good effect as well. He gets a lane freeze and will force the teleport. We can only imagine from Thick Waifus to equalize, not going to be available later on for the chance to teleport into the bottom side of the rift. Jay covering up mid lane for a little while, stopping by on his way to clear the rest of the camps, does signal a little bit of a lull state, because if Jay's not there, action's probably not happening.
True. You know, here's my positive perspective. At least Waifus isn't dying a lot this game, not getting countered as often by Ronnie's Jax. The Malphite just has enough bulk to last a lot more fights, and Ronnie knows it, which means he doesn't even want to really engage these fights just yet. Let Waifus have their fun and wait until they get a little too close to the sun and try and get them melted. But a lot of damage already coming out before they even enter this fray. Waifus knows he has a lot of space, and they're gonna work with it.
Dude, he's got a tier as well. This guy is just not letting it go. He was like, you know what? I suffered a lot last game. It was difficult for me in this Graves versus Jax matchup, but Malphite, my friend, he will deal you an entirely different kind of pain. Ronnie has been doing exceptionally, however, farming up through all of this pressure, and we got to applaud him for that. A little bit of vision for Thick Waifus should mean that he's okay right now. Steals the initial movement speed, but hasn't expended the flash just yet. Instead, getting stunned, has the level 6 to get out underneath the tower, but chooses instead to invest the flash. Now can ult Ronnie, but oh lord, it's just barely going wide of the unstoppable force. Means that both top laners are barely alive.
Wow, that was a great counterattack out of nowhere there from Waifus, keeping Ronnie on their toes and making sure that control of top lane is still not completely in the favor of Try. And Leisure already too far back out to re-engage right now, and Waifu's already regenerating. That was a great disengage there, along with the frag potential here, but Leisure's already on the way back, and there's no flash this time, no unstoppable force, just a little less space that Waifus has to walk. And that just means that Try's gonna wave clear again and have a lot more presence on this top turret.
They might dive this. There's a chance. Waifus does have a lot of health left. It seems like the armor is enough to dissuade them, but make no mistake, that was a very scary place to be as a Malphite even up in this top side. Leisure finds Duradin on his way back into the jungle as well, so a little bit more scouting and information on where the mid laner Penta is and what the game plan is. As everybody takes a minute to reset again, goes, okay, that was a tense couple minutes. Let's figure out exactly what we want to do from here, because right now it seems like it's set up a gank in the bot lane.
Yeah, we're back to a middle school dance floor. Everyone was getting a little too close, and then the teacher stepped in and said, okay, you've had your fun, you've danced around a little bit, done some damage to each other, now back up to your walls. 6 feet apart, people. Let's keep it safe.
6 feet apart? What middle school did you go to? Holy moly.
Really conservative.
Woo! That's rough. That is a terrifying middle school dance.
We use like stilts to hold hands while we slow dance.
Yeah. I can picture it now, like sort of like a terrifying circus where everybody's got the puppet hands to.
I feel so close to you.
Yeah.
So far away.
Exactly. Oh my! That's exactly how these bot laners are feeling right now. By the way, specifically AC and PJ just constantly taking the poke from Novacrone and Huck, especially Huck, like laying down with the Xerath. So close, but so far.
They can get back quickly after the back out, though. I mean, AC and PJ, they're aware. If they step a little too forward, then there's so much damage coming their way. That's the beauty of both of these comps is, you know, you make one step forward and you better prepare to lose a lot of your health bar.
And it makes it all the more impressive that we've got the side lanes doing so well in the CS department. Because look at the 70 CS that AC has to the 49 of Novacrone. Novacrone and Huck have run this lane, but you wouldn't know it to look at those numbers.
It's true. They've been really scary despite the fact that they're probably a little behind, all things considered. Not necessarily in any capacity that would hinder a fight, as I mean, they're happy just, you know, leaving their post and actually going to help out Turret, and they might start a fight out here on mid on a Momo, or at least give Turret some space.
Graviton is one heck of a drug. That was good. That was good. Good flash from Momo to get away. A necessary one. Now his jungler coming over as well. But what this does, more than even burn the mid laner's flash, is allow Jay to pick up that Rift Herald. Been a crucial objective for the past 2 games. And now it's gone into the pockets of Penta. Great roam from the bot lane. Novacrone and Huck really turning it on. And we're getting to see the synergy of Penta continuing to evolve. Although it does cost them an Ocean Drake.
Try and trade things out, get this Drake, keep things 1-1. So I don't think they're too pressed about losing the Herald. The question would be, where exactly does it go, and how strict does that make a lot of these fights and a lot of these sorts of roams that we've seen? The answer is going to be up in top lane, and Ronnie can't really engage because Waifus and Jay are both up there right now.
They're trying to take down the turret, but these two don't have the damage alone. Ronnie will be able to clear out the wave. I'm starting to get nervous that they would overextend.
Look how far up AC is right now, though. All the way in there. My goodness.
Novacrone could die.
If not for Leisure and PJ all the way up there, we could see a fight pretty soon, but the turret, I mean, it's running out of CS to cover blows for. Yeah, they're going to run in here.
Good flash from Novacrone, but it's not going to save Huck, unfortunately. This guy, the IGL for this squad, goes down. Novacrone gonna go down as well to one heck of a pedal star from Momo. Big plays being made on the bot side of the map by Tri, and as they reclaim a lot of lost momentum, they even up the gold, crucially.
Yeah, wow, what space taken on bot lane. They made their decision. They were willing to sacrifice that top turret for a moment there in favor for an incredible presence on this bot side here. Jay's going to try and establish a counter presence here, though, along with the wave to make sure that this turret is not completely taken down. So actually not a single turret has been destroyed yet, despite the fact that so many fights have seemed so decisive. So many members of each team have gotten in each other's space a lot of the time here, but not a whole lot has come out of it. As we're approaching 13 minutes, plating is going to fall very, very soon.
You know, I mean, we've been pretty net neutral, but counter-strike from Ronnie. He's going to go down here. Thick Waifus flashes forward even to make sure that he finishes off that kill and does get it. So a nice extra 300 gold going into the pockets of him in the top lane, pushing Penta ever so slightly far ahead. But like you talked about, largely net neutral. It's the thing that we wanted to touch on before. The Rift Herald take from Penta into the top lane crash was completely neutralized by the play from Tri in the bot lane. It's got to be first turret here, because if not, Penta are going to lose a lot of momentum.
Yeah, Waifu's going to be able to finish off this first turret just in time and does have a level ahead along with a lot of gold on the ramp back, so he can now get a solid item here outside of the Bramble Vest and bulk up even more with probably some solid damage and CC to spare, but Leisure is charging in, is able to take one, and they've rooted another. Jay is gone. A lot of the bot presence immediately eliminated. The second it was contested back, and just like that, Tri still has this entire corner of Summoner's Rift under their control right now, and they're willing to let go of just about everything else to get it.
I love the way that they're playing it too, because Tri know exactly what they're doing by saying, you know what? Top lane's going to take care of itself. Ronnie is a monster and always has been, but we're going to rely on pumping resources into AC because this guy can be even more monstrous than anything imagined. Zeri is pick banned for a reason, and the pick here is going to be the scariest part of all of that. These guys are extraordinarily individually talented. We've already seen how Momo can set up fights. We've already seen how Ronnie can run side lanes, and we got a taste of how AC can dominate in team fights, but that seems to be the focus for Tri this game.
I find it incredible how Penta's T1 and bot has survived this ordeal. So many skirmishes have been won by Tri down there, and they've stayed like in the middle of T1 and T2, and yet they just haven't decided to really commit to the turret just yet, because hey, somebody from Penta could be lurking just around the corner, and in fact, there's those two bot laners that are back online downstairs, just maybe a little bit behind AC and PJ, but not as far as you would think, again, by those numbers, which the Zeri is still 20 CS ahead.
Massive on this Zeri as well, with the first mythic picked up. Triforce providing a lot to any skirmish that these two would take. The poke really not impacting Zeri as much anymore. AC instead committing over the wall, dodges the stun, and Huck should be dead here. One more Q does it. Novacrone now the one in trouble, though he's got red, white. It looks good. Chakram's not going to be enough, however, as a double kill goes the way of AC.
AC just has so much damage that he can pump out right now. It doesn't matter that Momo was late down here. It doesn't matter that Waifus is here now because the presence is just so dominant at the moment. But Jay and Jordan, they're looking to make sure that Leisure can't get in okay. It has to use it to get out, and they actually find a pick along the way in center bot, and the presence has shifted quite a bit to the point where everybody else is either looking to back all the way up to spawn or at least take a more conservative positioning here. In fact, Jordan, Waifus, and Jay, they're all stationed around here very closely. They're going to try and suffocate what presence Tri was trying to manifest this whole time.
And it comes at a cost, and it comes at a big one, because Ronnie is getting more time alone in topside, having gone 0-2 on the Jax. Yeah, Penta set him behind early on, but this Jax will come back. That is the promise that all Jaxes make to their team, and now being able to hammer away at that tower, get himself even more gold, he's starting to challenge AC for CS. He's even catching up to Momo and may even start touching Duradin if he gets enough time alone. PJ, however, PJ's going down.
Yeah, this is a sacrifice that Penta are absolutely willing to take. A Hex Tech as well as a body in exchange for what? 3/5 of T1 top? I feel like Penta's perfectly satisfied with that as they're back to their normal post. Duradin is taking a lot of damage, but as the stun available, able to get Momo out of the picture for now, but Leisure is not content with letting him survive. Duradin burns up and will eventually fall next. This is so scrappy as we head into mid.
Cleaned up by the Raptors. Does feel a little bad, and the escape looked slick for a moment, but a little deceptive on the ability to escape the wildlife there. Death does catch up to him, and Dark Leisure popped the Ghost for it, so does get the kill on the mid laner for, I suppose, the cost of a Summoner spell. However, mid lane tower now open, and the Rift Herald that's now being focused by Penta, not going to provide them the same value as the first one did.
Momo a bit surrounded here right now, and the Unstoppable Force is going to make it even easier for Jay to complete here. The mid presence is gone. Leisure might have to stick around a bit longer than they intended. And this attack is really starting to blossom here from Penta. They'll have control of the Herald with only 2 members free. And the bot presence is still pretty even though AC is still level 10, still has so much damage online, is able to 1v1 Novachrome no problem. And yet, Penta hasn't let up.
Really not concerned for AC right now, although Gravitum does land, and that's a big stun that could come his way. An excellent sidestep on the skill shot from Huck, however, forces out the heal. This 2v1 looks like it's going the way of AC. Weirdly enough, even forcing a flash from Novachrome, now summonerless on the Aphelios. His Dark Leisure makes his presence known in the bot lane, taking the Hex Gate in, and now turning onto Duradin, who was trying desperately to take down PJ, now turned on himself. Final Spark will go wide, but Dark Leisure isn't going anywhere.
That was a great flip by Leisure, able to get through the Hextech gate all the way to the other side to make sure that the retreat was even more under pressure. If they were coming from the same side that PJ was coming, then Duradin could just turn right, but couldn't do that this time, and oh no, Jay gets caught out as well, put to sleep in more ways than one. Try finding more kills than Penta was willing to bargain for after this Rift Herald was taken up, and they're going to pay for it with 2 T1s.
Tri may just be showing him up on the day. This could be the comeback that we thought was impossible after watching Game 1, but Tri's ability to dial in the team fight synergy, really make a very talented solo lane performance fly across the entire team, is now starting to shift things back into their control. And with Ronnie continuing to farm up, he is now almost overtaken by 2 CS. He is almost overtaken the most in the game. He's got an incredible amount of gold for being 0-2, and that Hullbreaker is doing him a lot of good.
Oh yeah, Ronnie is going to be such a looming threat as we head into the 20-minute mark, and we haven't really seen a lot of him. He's been chilling up in top lane, taking what they need to set up for the rest of the fight. Waifus is on the way through and might try and engage this fight right now, but is there with the jump, and we might just see a little bit of purgatory here in top as everyone's just trying to regroup. The Baron is coming in a couple seconds as well.
As much as I want to see Waifus engage, I'm worried that he'll engage and find out that he doesn't win, because that seems like the impending reality. You don't want Ronnie running around with the information that he can 1v1 Malphite, that he doesn't have to be afraid of that unstoppable force. because right now it's the only thing keeping him from barreling down into your fountain. Thick Waifu's holding on for now. Needs to find a way to start fights, use that unstoppable force in the mid lane around his carries.
Gonna back up to maybe do that. Everyone's prepping for potentially the next fight over here at Penta. They're trying to get something started, and they just need to spend what they've earned in order to do so. We're about to see some kitted up teams duke it out.
It's going to be around this dragon as well, which I'm very, very excited for. Duradin, it's worth noting, did end up going for the Crown of the Shattered Queen. We talked about this a little bit when he did it on Orianna in Game 1, but it does hamper the damage potential pretty significantly from any mid laner, but especially a control mage like Duradin, who you're relying on for the majority of your DPS. It pushes his effectiveness back by at least one item, and is going to make this fight a little bit harder. Fortunately, Rift Herald in the mid lane provides enough of a distraction that Penta are going to start up the Drake.
Penta, they're dipping a lot of eggs into the same baskets here. Ronnie's, again, been given a lot of space, and although tries to steal it, Penta, they're going to settle on the fact that they got another Hex Tack, and, I mean, they're going to dip a lot into trying to find what resources they can to get the fights in the future going and completely flip the matchup on its head. Top lane's relatively cleared out. Duradin is there to support, so Ronnie has to back out for the moment, but he's about to run in to a much bigger squad, but the fight's already raging on as Leisure will find one, and Novacrone has to re-engage, but AC's right there with the damage. Novacrone hasn't escaped it yet.
Moonlight Vigil ends up going wide, and that means that Novacrone can't do the damage either, and instead, a lot gets returned onto Thick Waifus, the member who needs to find these engages, who does not have the ultimate anymore, having burned it on Dark Leisure in the Dragon Pit earlier. Penta are left with no way to fight back, no way to lock down Shry. They sort of get run down in the mid lane. However, the one thing they got going for them is that Hextech Soul is one hell of a drug, and they are 4 minutes away from it.
That Ultra Shock laser from AC just casually dealing half of Waifu's health, and Waifu is a level above AC, just terrifies me to my core. And I want everyone to know, I want everyone to understand that. I really hope everyone's aware of how much damage Zeri does. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. It didn't really contribute to a fight, because a fight didn't really end up kind of happening. I wouldn't classify that as kind of a fight. I would classify it as a hit and run, or a run and then hit, because that's kind of the sequence of how things started. That's going to be what happens again, as Leisure's going to run right in, do a lot of damage to Durin this time, but this time the rest of the squad's available. Luxar's already used, and Leisure is on the retreat for Durin's final blow.
AC's still laying down a lot of damage, don't get me wrong, but that choke point devastated Try. Walking in, trying to fight there, left Dark Leisure with no way out, and now Lisa's team with no way to threaten this Baron. Instead, clearing out some vision, holding down the fort until he can show up again. But that's the play for Try. You gotta keep the jungler alive, you gotta buy Ronnie time to push up in this side lane, because then you leave Penta having to choose between defending their side lane towers or keeping the Baron away from Try.
Yeah, they're having less and less choices to pick from. Penta, they're gonna have to start making the decisions that decide the actual game rather than decide the prep for that game. They have all the resources they need. They got the gold, they got the items rolling, they have some really kitted up champions, but they need to have the wins of the team fights, and they haven't stacked those up just enough yet. Still 4 kills behind and around 3,000 gold behind as well. They've also only taken 2 turrets as opposed to the 3 from Try. Jay taking a Lux ult to the dome, having to back out, but the fight hasn't really started yet. But the mid-fight presence from both of these teams, they're really trying to fight for this beeline down this lane.
Yeah, it is a difficult thing to control, but when you are able to hold control of that mid lane, when you are able to push your minions up, especially in the way that Try are able to, you get so much vision and so much control of the jungle. Things that are imperative for both fighting over Next Dragon and fighting over Baron that Try absolutely need to do. So minion pushing is going to be the thing that you can contribute Lux ults to, you can contribute overextensions to, and that you have to be paying your vision tax on, because otherwise Penta have a very good chance of being able to steal one, if not both, of the objectives away from you. AC going to take a little bit of damage from Baron Nashor, I will say. However, they know they have exclusive vision on it now, so they could try and bait this. Teleport?
Both sides, yeah. They're hanging around. They're waiting for the fight to start, but who's going to really start this fight? Waifu's taking the first bit of damage there, but again, nobody's really initiated here. They've kind of just taken some shots from afar and got away with it pretty cleanly. Jay's going to start things off on Elysia, but he can run away here. And now the attacking side of Penta is a bit split in half right now. They need to reconvene before Tri sees it and takes advantage of it. Or they can just back out and try again later.
The split call as well. Everybody wanted to go for the Baron, but now they're left with nothing. Engage onto Duradin. And again, this isn't a choke point, so better than being engaged on in the river. Duradin is able to escape, but teleport was used from Thick Waifus, and now he's not able to join this fight anymore. He's going down to run into Ronnie, and Penta have to engage as 4 or not at all.
Yeah, and they might lose not only Baron, but this turret as well. But look at how hectic Tri is being as well. I mean, this is so strange watching how the attack and defense has sort of fluctuated here. But yeah, Dragon's response to.
That's the thing that is pulling Tri back. They're going, do we coin flip at this Baron, or do we take the Dragon that we're almost sure we're going to get? Because they've got the vision again. They've got the control. They've forced the resets now, and Drake should be theirs. They should be able to deny Soul, and last auto means that they're able to. Penta set 5 minutes behind in what could have been a win condition for them. It's exactly the move that Tri needed to make, and it was the right call to pull off. Play this one, like you said, a little bit more conservatively in what seems like an odd way, but it's to keep Penta from winning more than it is to win themselves.
Yeah, now Penta's got to refurbish their spread as well. I mean, the laning phase is over and done with. You can't really try to contest on lanes alone, on CS alone, and think that you can catch up with whatever you're trying to get back to. You have to start winning bigger things. And Penta, I feel like they don't exactly know what they're aiming for just yet.
No, right now it is a game of survival. It is a game of get Duradin farm. He's already got the 2 items. Jay goes for the kick, goes for the engage. Thick Waifus ends up finding it. The ult's already been used, and it has found the pick. Jay is going to go down in trade. Ronnie is all over the backline, forcing the flash and an overcrone, forcing the Gale Force, but it isn't enough to get the Aphelios away from this monster of a Jax. Ronnie continues to run forward, and EC follows it all up with a massive shutdown, picking up a kill, giving one over to Momo. Run over Penta in the mid lane.
Beeline that Tri's looking for. There's the mid presence. Ronnie is absolutely insane, but let's not forget Momo and AC to back it up with the pure damage in CC that they could run alongside it. They could clear out anything that was in the way, and Ronnie could go buck wild in that mid lane because of the sustain thanks to it. Able to take mid inhib before the respawns come back up. Tri so satisfied with what they've stolen right under Penta's noses here. No Soul for another 3 minutes. Baron still hasn't been taken up yet. Tri controls practically this whole map without being on most of it.
My oh my, have we seen this story before though? Mid lane inhibitor going down at around the 30-minute mark, and Penta's no less. This is looking a lot like the game that they ended up winning the first match. So you got to be careful if you're Tri, and this Baron they are that they are approaching with extreme caution has to be the target for them. Nice Sleepy Trouble Bubble connecting. Not going to do a whole lot against Zoe Burst. Will that crown the Shattered Queen? But Duradin ends up escaping just barely. Thank the Lord.
Tri is just so ready for anything at this point. They are so ready to just take whatever Penta's doing and counter it. It's really pretty how they establish themselves. They say, okay, wherever that Penta goes, we're going to go over there and we're going to stop them from doing whatever they're trying to do. And it succeeds every single time. Penta knows that they can't contest whenever Tri tries to initiate the way that they are.
And this is looking difficult for Jay. I was thinking he was going to try and get away here. Does have the safeguard, but nice fear does come in time, and Huck tries to follow up even at that half health with the right of the arcane and doesn't get anything in trade for it. Jungle of Penta does belong to Tri, and more importantly, it is that Baron that we've been talking of the past. Feels like forever. With the vision plant popped as well, Leisure's gonna have plenty of time to tank this up. Ronnie can stop so much, and he jumps right in ahead of Thick Waifus, stopping that. Although Unstoppable Force still available for Thick Waifus.
Yeah, it bought time, but not enough to take care of the Baron, so they're gonna have to let it be while they try and duke it out yet again. I mean, it's strange how they still exude so much control, and yet they haven't found a lot of solid ground in this area just yet. They found the turret, they found some fights, but they haven't found this Baron yet. They might find waifus, though, as he tries to get out with the Unstoppable Thorns. Does succeed for now, thanks to the flash as well. Oh my goodness, by the skin of his teeth.
Dude,
He
he's
does get
so
out okay.
tanky. What the?
Wow.
He just tanked up 5 members for what feels like 4 years, and Try were unable to finish him off. It speaks more to the tankiness of Malphite than anything else, but the other thing that it definitely demonstrates is that Penta, even when given that much time, aren't able to follow up confidently in a choke point. They know the power of AC at this point. 3 items on the Zeri, having gone with the Bruiser build that was the focus when she was on release. Now people mostly have shifted over towards crit. But AC's playing this carefully, saying, you know what? No, if we make it to late game and I'm unable to die, we're going to be just fine. It's not important that I be spiking the mid game because Ronnie and Momo have got that.
Exactly, no. AC, as long as they stay alive, they're doing everything they need to do, covering the tracks for the other players that they know can do even more damage to a team like this. And we saw that with the earlier mid lane destruction that resulted in taking down that inhib. Now, Hextech is spawning back up. Penta's so determined to find their soul, but you know for a fact Try is not going to let that happen.
He gets a really nice sleep, but it is onto the front line, or the big threat right now is exactly who's in the mid lane. Ronnie, level 17, a monster on this Jax, is threatening to end the game, and Penta just want the Hextech soul that they worked for 3 dragons in a row, but they can't start this fight without knowing they got a pick. They've got some sort of safety. Instead, they're the ones getting poked out, and AC and Momo are not letting up. Dragon about half health right now. Dark Leisure could steal this as well. Ultimate comes across, doesn't find anybody. Final Spark is down. Turrets are going down in the meantime. The Hextech Soul does get secured by Jay, but look at the Nexus, because Ronnie is ending the game. Try are keeping everybody here, and Ronnie, the hero of Try, wins the best of 3 for him.
Wow, that was absolutely unreal. Ronnie had just enough time to sneak by and steal that Nexus away. I loved the way that Try was able to just keep poking and stretch out that dragon fight forever until they no longer needed to win it in order to take that Nexus. The raw power that Ronnie had, thanks to the ramp that he was able to get through all of those fights that he had won previously, proved to keep up, hold him up long enough to take down both Nexus turrets as well as the Nexus itself, which means Try is one of your 2 teams moving to the grand finals.
And that showdown is going to be on Monday, and what a showdown it's going to be. We hyped up Ronnie and AC, and man, oh man, did these guys deliver with, I mean, Ronnie really wowing us with that split push, and AC putting down so much damage as well. We cannot undervalue his oomph in this mid game. Been incredible to watch both these teams grow, and like you talked about, now Try get the chance to advance in this Fractal Gaming Tournament. A reminder, of course, that what they stand to win at the end of all this, 20 soul, a truckload of Riot merch, an extra special Fractal Limited Edition NFT, as well as a role in our very own community server. And if you guys are so inclined, if you're here already, if you're interested in League of Legends and other gaming tournaments, I'd recommend you joining up with Fractal, because they are one of the largest gaming communities out there, and have been founded and created by one of the founders of Twitch that I suspect you're watching this on right now.
Probably. I don't think there's a slim chance that you're watching it anywhere else. I feel like this is the one place that you could find something Fractal related if you aren't on the Discord or any of the socials that you can follow, whether that's Twitter, the Discord itself. There's probably some other stuff out there.
And hey, if you join the Discord, you're the one that gets access to being able to play in these kinds of tournaments. So, I mean, I'd be doing that right now. I was actually talking before the games today about how I was going to need to sign up to play in some of these future tournaments, because Fractal is not done yet. And even this tournament isn't done yet. We've got plenty more games to come. And that's the really exciting thing, is that we'll be back here at the same place at the same time tomorrow. I believe the matchup is Quad versus Hexa.
Yes, Quad versus Hexa, the other 2 teams, just as much time together and just as much potential for action. I'm sure we will see an amazing best of 3, but the best of 3 is done for tonight. Man, what an amazing series, though. I cannot wait for this to continue.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Tenrek, to see what happens here. And now we get the chance to evolve that over the course of a weekend. I can't wait to see all of your beautiful faces tomorrow. This has been all from myself. I've been Dia. This has been Tenrek. We have an incredible production crew behind the scenes bringing these games to you. And for now, I think I wish you guys a good night. We'll see you next time on the Fractal Gaming Tournament.